Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can visit our website, holybatcast.com, or you can find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. To search for Holy BatCast, you'll find us. If you're a big fan of the show and you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And always is a big, huge thank you to our patrons. You guys are amazing, because I'll tell you something. There's a lot of people out there that listen to the show. They're not patrons, and that's okay. I get it. You got better things to do with your $1 a month. That's fine. But for the people who do it, it means a lot, because you don't have to, and you do it anyway, because you're just a good person. You have a big heart, and you want to say thank you for doing the podcast. And so I thank you for saying thank you. So you guys are awesome. Really do appreciate y'all. You can also check out all the other shows that are part of the Real Fans Network at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd. That's it, Letterboxd at Andy DiGenova. This episode, it's time, guys. January 31st. A man of his word cutting it close, but he did it. James Gunn dropped the first 10 projects as part of he and Peter Safran's new DC Universe slate. So I think that's 5 movies and 5 TV shows. I think it's 5 and 5. It's a lot to talk about, and we're going to talk about all of it. And I've got a lot of great folks here to talk with me. It's a full house, y'all. First of all, it's Jamie Truly. Hey, Jamie.
Lanterns.
All right, good. Check. So that sounds like a good squeal.
Maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get to it. But hi, Jamie.
Hi. I'm so happy.
Thanks for being here on a weeknight.
I'm drinking. I'm talking about stuff that I think is really cool.
Stuff. Trying to
keep it family friendly. Sorry, I caught myself in mid syllable there.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, good.
To be here. It's 17 degrees outside, so January is in full effect. But I'm indoors, so I'm good.
Awesome. We love it. Well, glad to have you. I've also got 2 other special guests joining us from over at The Fire Rises. I got Mr. Eric Carter. Hi, Eric. Welcome back. It's been a minute.
It has been. Hi, Andy. Glad to be back. Really happy to be on the show and really happy to talk about the topics today. But yeah, Jamie, it's in the teens here too. So I feel you, brother.
Yeah, it's bad.
It was 80 degrees and beautiful here today.
So it's been nice talking to you guys. I got to go now because I ain't listening to that.
It was real nice. Anyway, last but certainly not least, also from The Fire Rises, our good pal Joe Fornarotto. Hi, Joe.
Hey guys, thank you for having me back. Yeah, I had a little bit of everything today. I had a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, so I'm not quite in that teens, but I'm also not in the 80 degrees like Andy over there. But I'll take a little bit of snow. I was happy with that.
That's nice. That's good. Unfortunately, we've got no kangaroos this time. We're still on a kangaroo hiatus, and that is because Brendan Lowe, first of all, it's the middle of the week, but it's his birthday. So happy birthday. Oh, yep. I sent him multiple happy birthday memes privately for the day, for the special day. So
as you should.
Yeah, like nothing says I love you like happy birthday. So happy birthday to our favorite bouncy kanga, Brendan Lowe. We love you, Brendan. We hope you're having a great day doing something that was more important than talking to us about Batman and stuff.
So much for the family-friendly episode. Leave it to the Australian to bring the room down.
I know. Well, it's only at the beginning, and then we can edit it out. Anyway, it is Brendan's birthday. Everybody wish him a happy birthday out there. Hope he's having a great day. He is at Movie World hanging out with DC characters. So at least it's DC adjacent, and so he's celebrating his birthday in a respectable way.
That's true. So, yeah. But this is what, like the 17th time this month he's been to Movie World?
I mean, that is true. I think he goes to theme parks more than I do, which is really weird.
It's
I don't
ridiculous.
think they have to work in Australia. I think they just go to the theme parks all day.
Well, that's not just Australia. That's any place that's not America. They're like, you get 2 weeks of vacation. The rest of the world is like, here, take 8 weeks of vacation for your first year. Because you know what? You matter.
What's vacation?
Exactly. All right. Well, before we get to the topic at hand, we also have to give a shout out to our friends over at Manscaped. And Manscaped's got something new for you at the beginning of the year. Breaking news, they now have a bunch of beard products. That's right. They are revolutionizing men's grooming again with their brand new Beard Hedger. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. So all their other products weren't good enough. They keep making new ones. This is one, I'll be real honest, I don't need, because I can't really grow a beard. 44 years old, still can't really grow a beard, but I know a lot of y'all out there, y'all rock the beards, you rock the facial hair, and you want to keep it trimmed up. You want to be looking nice, looking sharp. And I bet you the Manscaped Beard Hedger has got you covered. If it's anything like their other trimmers, you can't go wrong. You're going to love it. In the meantime, I'll keep using my normal trimmer. I'll keep using the cologne and the little scrubber that they gave me for the shower and the body wash and all that other good stuff. I use all that. But yeah, the beard, I'm afraid it's just not too useful for me. But lots of good stuff. Beard Hedger. So if you're out there looking for a way to keep your beard nice and looking good, check out what they've got. And if you like what they've got and you're going to make a purchase, please use that promo code BATSCAPED. 20% off, free shipping. You're going to save some money and you're going to support Holy BatCast in the process. So we would love it if you would do that. Go to manscaped.com, check out what they've got, and then use that promo code. I think one of you guys even said, you were like, ooh, they have a beard trimmer now. I'm going to have to get it. I can't remember who it was, though.
That was myself, and
Oh, okay.
I actually have it in my cart right now. I'm getting ready to order it probably tonight when we finish this, because you just reminded me, and I will be using Batscaped.
Attaboy. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I'm waiting for Eric to report back, and then I'll go
Okay.
and update
Yes.
myself.
Next time you're on, Eric, we're going to get your full review.
Sounds good.
All right.
I compensate for not being able to grow hair on my head, and that's why I have the beard.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, it's the exact opposite as we were talking about today. So anyway, 20% off, free shipping, Batscaped at manscaped.com. Please do go check that out. We would appreciate it. The Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, and 20 lengths. All right. Excellent. But today, speaking of too much hair on my head, I had to go get a haircut. And when did I have to go get a haircut? Right at noon. Right at noon, while the whole world was blowing up about the new DC Slate. So I had to wait like a half an hour till my hair was done, and then I went and got lunch and watched the video of James Gunn. That's why, you guys were talking. I was like, nope, I'm waiting to watch it before I say a word. But anyway, it's finally here. The time has come, and we're going to talk about the new DC Universe Slate. James Gunn promised he would give us info in January, and we didn't know how much we'd get. Some people were like, maybe only a couple films. Some people, I think, expected the whole 10-year plan, and he split the difference. I think he gave us more than we expected, but not the whole thing. Like I said, it was 10 projects over the next 5. No, I think only 4 years. I think they said that this goes through 2027. And so, yeah, let's talk about what is coming our way with the DC Universe on film or from DC Studios. I guess let me do the quick overview and then we'll take them one by one. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, great. So I'm going to go in the order that he announced them, because it appears to me that this is kind of the planned order of release based on the way he explained it, right? Didn't it feel that way?
That's how I took it, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go through those we'll go through overview and then we'll go through them one by one and we'll talk about them. But again, 10 projects, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 5 movies, 5 TV shows. So first he talked about the new animated series Creature Commandos that he wrote himself, but it is apparently already in production. And that's an HBO Max animated series. Then the Waller series with Viola Davis is still on. And it sounds like that will be kind of like Peacemaker season 1.5. He mentioned that Peacemaker season 2 is still planned, but is on hold while all this other stuff is happening. And so Waller is going to kind of scratch that itch. Then the one we already knew was coming, Superman Legacy, the Superman reboot film. And this is the only one that has a release date of the new lineup, let me specify, for July 11th of 2025. Then he mentioned Lanterns. As Jamie was nice enough to point out, this is another HBO Max live-action Green Lantern series of Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart teaming up on Earth to solve a mystery as the Green Lanterns. The next one up is The Authority, which I'll be honest is what I know the least about, because it's the Wildstorm characters who I don't really know. So that one will be new to me, but that's a movie. Paradise Lost is another series. This is a prequel series to the Wonder Woman saga set on Themyscira before the birth of Wonder Woman. Then there's the Brave and the Bold movie. We get to meet our DC Universe Batman, and this one, he's teaming up with Robin, Damian Wayne. But there was also mention of the Bat family on film being a part of this as well. Then back to another series, Booster Gold, a comedy series for HBO Max, a Booster Gold coming from the future and trying to make himself a famous superhero, which is, that's the story of Booster Gold. Another movie, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, based on the Tom King comic, which I have not read. And then one final film, and that is The Return of the Swamp Thing. They really played up the horror aspect of this film, but still making clear it is still absolutely connected to the rest of the DC universe on film. And that was, I think, one of the biggest overarching messages from this video that James Gunn posted, just about how everything is in telling one large overarching story. It is all connected. It all sets up and pays off each other. And they're really excited about that cohesion of having this big, epic DC story on film.
Do we want to address the supplemental news now, or do we want to kind of do it after we talked about the slate?
Which supplemental news?
The supplemental news of the other projects that are in the works that they could not announce. I'll just say it. I mean, they literally said the titles of these are too revealing to put out now because they give away too much about what this central story is going to be.
Oh, I didn't hear that quote, actually.
Oh. I didn't see that quote either.
Yeah, it's a thing. They've got, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 more that they couldn't say because the titles gave away too much that they didn't want to reveal at this time. And there is how did they phrase this? Like a super secret director that is currently working on one of these projects now.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if he's like in production with it or just piecing together things or what it is, but apparently there is plenty more that we were not told about today.
I did hear that there were some other projects that were part of this first phase that they did not announce today. I just didn't hear the quote about it being too revealing. Mm-hmm. It is also worth noting, though, that in this whole conversation, he talked about how some of these other versions or other universes of characters like Todd Phillips' Joker, Matt Reeves' the Batman, will be part of Elseworlds, and they will be branded as such. So it's clear which ones are part of the continuity and which ones are not.
Which is a great thing to me.
Feels to me like many of us have asked for that for a minute, but.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, according to the Variety article, the Superman, the J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates movie is still in development as well.
That was I was about to say that was the third one that for Elseworlds that was apparently still active. So it's Joker 2, it's the Batman Part 2, which is now what it is being called, and it is the Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman, which apparently is still active. But they will be branded as Elseworlds, so they're not part of the main continuity. And he also said that the name of this whole first phase is Gods and Monsters. And I think that's a lot of fun, if I'm being honest. It's also worth noting that the Batman Part 2 also got a release date, and it was October 5th of 2025.
I believe so.
I don't have that in front of me, but that's my memory.
That feels like a long time, but I guess it's only 3.5 years.
At this point, it's 2.5 years.
22 to 25 is 3 years plus another 7 months.
Are you saying between films or from right now? I'm saying from right now. It's only 2.5 years away.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's less time than there was between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, they did 4 years.
Which seemed like too long to me, but that's me. What do I know?
Yeah. So yeah, we got release dates for 2025 for Superman Legacy in July, and then the Batman Part 2 in October. Actually, you know what? Before we start taking them one by one, I just want to get a pulse check of how you're feeling. So, Jamie, overall, let's not get into detail. Let's not go one by one yet, but just overall, you liking it? You're hating it? You're somewhere in the middle? How do you feel?
A lot of it was surprising to me, not knowing exactly what to expect. Some of it some of it I definitely expected, but some of it I didn't. I'm going to say it's about a 50-50 split between, what I anticipated we would hear something about and stuff that just came out of nowhere and was like, oh, that's a choice. But none of it is unappealing to me. Some of it is stuff that I'm not as familiar with. I've read some of the Wildstorm books that were, kind of the post-Rebirth era stuff. And I read some Wild Cats going way back in the day, but I don't know if that's going to be the Wildstorm stuff now seems to be different than that. So I'm guessing they're basing it more off the more recent stuff than the early stuff. But I've read it. I think it's really good. But I was shocked. That's one of the things that really shocked me about it. Creature Commandos. I mean, that's bonkers. And that's what's kicking everything off. But yeah, I mean, there's stuff in there that I never expected to ever see, let alone being in the first, part or phase or whatever you want to refer to it as. But I'm excited. I'm not dancing around for anything but one of these announcements, but still I'm excited to see what it's all going to look like said and done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very interested.
Okay, I got to correct myself. The Batman Part 2 is October 3rd, 2025. So everybody who was in the middle writing your emails, you can stop. October 3rd.
They already said it.
It's too late. They're here they are. It's weird. I haven't even posted it. The emails are already coming in. It's amazing. I love living in the future. So sorry, October 3rd, 2025. Cool. Jamie, I feel you. I got it. Eric, what about you?
So I'm kind of right there with Jamie. I was surprised by quite a bit of this. A bit of this I expected, but there's one thing that stuck out for me is when I was listening to you guys' kind of slate, what you would do as your slate on the previous episode of BatCast. I was like, okay, well, if Gunn gets crazier than some of these, then we'll be sitting pretty, and he absolutely did in some ways. There's some projects in here, like Jamie mentioned, Creature Commandos, The Authority. I just had no expectation for that whatsoever. But then again, it's James Gunn. It's the man that brought us Polka Dot Man. So yeah, I'm really intrigued. I'm really excited. It definitely moved the needle for me, if I can say that.
Oh, you can say that.
Yeah,
we'll allow it.
Well,
yeah,
you should say that.
And I think what the biggest question mark I had was when they started talking about, we're going to connect movies and TV and animation, live action, gaming, all of it's going to be connected. I kind of got a little worried about that because Star Wars tried that several years ago. I think right after Disney bought them, they were like, everything's going to be connected. And then they realized pretty quickly that can't work because you run into some walls with continuity there. But I think with this DC Elseworlds brand, they've created themselves an out. So even that, I feel like James Gunn and Peter Safran addressed for my worries. So yeah, I'm very excited about this.
All right. Joe, what about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I mean, I think what's really interesting is how he did go back and forth between the big stars that we were hoping for and expecting as far as comic book superheroes, and then, like you said, with the Wildstorm characters and the Creature Commandos launching it in an animated form and how it's going to be an animated show. Comparing it to a character like Polka Dot Man makes a lot of sense because it's James Gunn. He's going into the really deep into the well here, and he's going to make us interested in these characters, and not just him. The people that are involved are also going to obviously play a huge part. But it's fun to see that they really do have some really interesting stuff mapped out. And I think, as excited as I am for, Batman the Brave and the Bold and the Superman reboot and all that stuff, I love the fact that I'm going to have new DC content, content that I'm really not, I don't want to say invested in, but I don't really know a lot about. So I'm kind of starting from the same place as a lot of the general audience, which sometimes is kind of refreshing as someone that, sometimes we get too involved in this stuff. And sometimes it's nice to just kind of go into these and with an open mind and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, and I like the balance of the TV shows and the films, and how he was even quoted as saying they didn't start from a point of, okay, this character is going to get a show, this character is going to get a movie. They've really focused on, okay, what's the story we want to tell with these characters? What would best suit that? And I really like that. I like that they balanced it, but also it wasn't just right off the bat, this is what we're doing. They balanced it based off the story. And I like what he's saying about it's still going to be story first. Yes, there is an overarching story, but the story for the film or the show comes first, and it's going to be, still a director driven film or show, and they're going to have their voices. Even like he touched on Swamp Thing being the most different from the rest of them, but it's still going to take place in the same universe. So I liked everything I was hearing. Again, I was going to be excited anyway. I mean, we're getting I'm not going to lie here. Like, I was going to be excited. We're getting announcements of films that are coming, and that's a fun thing. I gotta say, to me, this reminded me of, and I don't want to bring up a bittersweet moment, but this reminded me back of what was it, 2016 or 2007, or I guess it was 2015, when we got that huge slate that never came to fruition, obviously.
Yeah,
but that was fun.
it was fun when all the future laid in front of us, and we were full.
And
I
know
hope.
It sucks that we didn't get it. And I'm not trying to bring up something bad, but
I get but your point is valid. Is you're right. It was such an exciting time because we'd been waiting and waiting and waiting for a larger commitment to DC on film, and we got it, and then it didn't quite go as planned. But you're right. It's this sort of rebirth, if I may. Gives you that same feeling of like, oh, okay, like we're learning from past mistakes, and we actually have a cohesive plan, which was one of the bigger problems over the past 10 years. And yeah, you're right. It kind of takes you back there of going, oh, it's exciting. We have, we're hitting the reset in a way, but now the future lays in front of us, and there's a lot to be hopeful about.
Yeah. And listen, I don't want to sugarcoat it either. Like, yeah, that was disappointing that we didn't get that.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, this feels different because I'm hoping they learn from those mistakes, and it seems like this is actually going to move forward. And I don't want to dwell on the fact that the last one didn't come to fruition. I just want to remember that feeling of how I'm feeling now. And it's promising. And I think that the ride is going to be just as fun as when we actually get these movies.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that we are all very close as far as how we feel about this. I'm really excited, actually. For the most part, I'm very happy. As you guys alluded to, there are certainly things in here that we did not see coming, but that's kind of the fun of it. And that's what we would expect from James Gunn. Is he's not just going to do only the A-listers. He loves the weirdos. He loves the C-lists or the obscure characters. We knew that was going to be peppered in here. And I do think what I like about this slate, for, the slate that we know about, because again, there's more to it, is it's a really good mix of like A-list characters, B-list characters, and then some really obscure characters you don't think about. I feel like it's really diverse, and I like that about it. It's not as good as my slate, but what are you going to do? Like, nobody's perfect, and that's fine.
Politics, right?
But I mean, I think that it's funny because I feel like Jamie and Anthony's slate, I think we all had some sort of Gotham centric movie every year, and we didn't get that. And so that's I'll take it. It's fine. But I think that we all were like, no, more Gotham movies. And if it's not going to be, Batman only, it's Bat Family, and it's Batman Villain, it's Gotham City Sirens. What's funny is after our last episode, even my dear wife made her own slate and sent it to me. And she even said, she goes, you'll notice there's kind of a Gotham movie every year. And I'm like, see, and this is why we're married. So aside from that, it's a really fun slate. There are some curveballs in here, but nothing I don't like. I do think, and I think, oh my God, I think it was Eric who was talking about like the cohesiveness of the story of like the one big story and how with Star Wars it didn't work. That was you, Eric, right?
Yeah, with the move, everything connected.
Yeah, and like everything connected is great and a cohesive plan is great. But when you said that, it did worry me a little bit in that everything can't be so connected because you can't expect the audience to watch every single thing. Mm-hmm. So I hope that all of these things are standalone enough that someone can pick and choose, but then for big nerds like us who do want to watch everything, it connects in enough ways. And that's a tricky balance. And I think sometimes like Marvel does that really well, and sometimes they do it less well, depending on the project. Some of them are a little too interconnected and some of them aren't. But sometimes they have just the right balance, right? Like, and I hope that they're taking that into account here of being like, yes, they're all connected. They're all part of the same universe. They're all part of the same story, but I don't want someone to be confused if they didn't watch the Creature Commandos animated series. Know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's an issue that the longer the Marvel universe goes, the bigger that problem's becoming. And I could see that as an issue with the longevity.
Yeah.
For instance, I mean, and this is not to throw any shade on them, but when we went to see Multiverse of Madness, when we left, one of my wife's key complaints is she said, it's been so long since I've seen WandaVision. And I feel like if you didn't watch WandaVision, a lot of that would be lost on you.
Yeah.
And that's a worry with the connected universe that everything is so connected.
Agreed. But and on the flip side, I would say like Shang-Chi did it beautifully. Mm-hmm. Of like, if you just watch Shang-Chi, you can watch it and it's really entertaining and it's a good movie, but there are enough connections to the greater universe that it rewards people who know those things, but you don't need to. So they've certainly done it right as well. And I think that, I hope that, again, this is more of the latter than the former. But another thing that Gunn said, and I can't find the exact quote, but he also said, and it wasn't in the video, because after the video, all of these interviews came up because they did this press event yesterday. And and I get it, these trades need to get the most out of this big news, but everything's broken up into like 6 to 8 different articles. So I can't find all the quotes because there's so many of them out there.
It's an Easter egg hunt.
Exactly. Like I want it all in one article, but I get it. They broke it up into 6 articles. But he said like 2 shows and 2 movies a year feels like the right amount. And I like that. I'm like, yes, I can get down with that. That feels manageable to me. So that I'm good with. But there's a lot to be excited about. Again, some fun surprises that I think are cool too. It's of course not what I would do, but you already heard what I would do. And that's okay because it's him and Peter's slate. And overall, I'm excited. Like you said, Joe, it's kind of this nice new beginning that allows us to get excited again, where they're cleaning up the house for us to live in for the next 10 years. And that's exciting. And so, yeah, there's a lot of good things in here. I'm excited to talk about it. He also did say, and again, it goes back to something you all said, is that he made it very clear, and it was a very concerted sentence or statement about how everything will not feel the same. It will reflect the style and the sensibilities of the writers and filmmakers who make each project. So I appreciated that too, especially for those of us who we don't love every James Gunn movie. Sorry, that worried that everything is going to feel like a James Gunn movie. I appreciated that he also put that right out there from the very beginning as well. Some of them will feel that way because he's writing them, but he's not writing all of them. And so that was nice to hear too.
Mm-hmm. So I noticed, and I don't remember if it was said in the video or if it was something I read after the fact. So a lot of this stuff will run together for me. I know they said that Creature Commandos is 7 episodes.
Yes.
Did we get a count on Waller or Lanterns?
Or not that I have seen.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because those were the Waller, Lanterns, Booster Gold.
Paradise Lost.
That was the
yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get started. The first one is Creature Commandos is coming our way. So it's an animated series made for HBO Max. It was the first thing that they greenlit. James Gunn wrote every episode, and it's already in production. The original Creature Commandos were a Frankenstein monster, a werewolf, a vampire, and a Gorgon fighting the Nazis in World War II. The more modern lineup is like there's a Bride of Frankenstein, and then there's a bunch of other different monsters in there, and it seems like they're going to go with the more current version because that includes Weasel, who we met in the Suicide Squad, and it also features Rick Flag's father, Rick Flag Sr. So Gunn said about animation, he said, this way we can tell stories that are gigantic, but without spending, $50 million an episode. And James Gunn also said that the actors that are being cast to voice the characters would also play the roles in live action.
If you live in an era where we're going to get a Frankenstein DC live action appearance at some point. Gentlemen, this is truly the golden age of the geek.
And I'm with you.
This is horrible. I'm out. I can't take it anymore.
Oh, I can't take it. Oh my God. See, you made me lose my train of thought. I knew that was going to happen.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, it's fine. Oh, that's what I was going to say. If you want like a crash course in the Creature Commandos, there was that Sergeant Rock short a couple years ago.
Yes, I was going to actually ask you about that because I thought that's what that was,
yes.
Right? Yeah.
And number one, it's great. And it made me go down the rabbit hole of like, wait a minute, a team of monsters in the DC universe. And I had never heard of them prior to that short. And then I went down and I found comics on DC Universe, and I found they even did like weird little animated interstitials on Cartoon Network about them. And I was like, these guys are so cool. So whoever had Creature Commandos on their bingo card, good for you. I don't believe anyone did, but if anyone did, and you can tell me, you can pass the red face test and tell me for sure you had it, 2 points.
My introduction to that was reading the Slate for like I don't remember if it was the first or second wave of the New 52 books, and there was like Frankenstein and I don't remember if it was Frankenstein and the Agents of Shade, I think is what
it was. Yes, that's what it was.
And I was like, what? There's a Frankenstein in the DC universe? Really?
He's pretty awesome.
He started showing up in some other stuff that I read, and I was like, oh.
He showed up in the Tomasi Batman and Robin book. That's how I was introduced to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's pretty awesome. I like him a lot. All right. So, yeah. Additional thoughts on Creature Commandos, Jamie?
I'm here for it. That is like the last thing in the world I would have expected this slate to have in it, let alone being literally the first thing we're going to get from it.
Yeah.
But I'm dialed. I'm on it instantly. I'm sitting down as soon as I can to watch that.
Yep, same. And again, if they get introduced in this animated series and then pop up in live action later in, I don't know, Swamp Thing? Ooh. Take my money. Sorry, Eric. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. I'm trying to remember, and Joe, maybe you can help me out here. I remember something very recently that I read with the Creature Commandos, or at least part of the team in it, and I'm thinking death metal, but I'm not 100% sure.
It's possible they showed up in that, or was it?
Either way,
Dark Crisis.
Maybe it was Dark Crisis, but either way, it's exciting because, like you guys, especially like you, Andy, I'm a big fan of the Universal Monster movies. I dove into that box set this past Halloween for Scare.
I remember. Yeah.
So there's a controversial pick in there too. But anyway, yeah, this is really exciting. Getting to see these monsters and creatures as part of the DC universe. And something that I thought was really interesting was that you do get Rick Flag Sr. I wonder how cheeky they'll go with that. Do you think there's a possibility that we could get a return actor?
Like Kinnaman?
Yeah. That's what
as
I was
his own
wondering.
father?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed. They age him up a bit. I wouldn't be opposed, but I'd say anything is possible.
I mean, with James Gunn, I could see it happening.
I guess it is worth noting, since you bring it up, it is a softer reboot than I think a lot of us were expecting.
That's I think you're just speaking out loud what everybody's thinking is this is not quite the entire separate brand new thing that we were kind of led to assume.
Yeah.
In comic speak, I feel like this is more like New 52 to Rebirth transition than it is like the old post-crisis to New 52.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like a hard reset like that was.
Right. Joe, Creature Commandos.
No, I really don't have much to add other than I think it's kind of the perfect way to set the tone for the animation, because I don't know how much I'd be invested in a live action, Creature Commandos movie, but to introduce us to an HBO show with animation and the whole idea of keeping the budget down because it is animation and being able to go crazy with it, I think that's a good idea. And I think the fact that they're doing that early on is fun too, just because it just does seem so out of left field.
Well, and I think it's worth noting, and something that I'm really excited about is with this gods and monsters phase, they're leaning into the monsters. Mm-hmm. And that includes Creature Commandos, that includes Swamp Thing, and my hunch is there are other monsters hiding amongst these other projects, and maybe some of the unannounced ones. But, we love superheroes, but we love horror, and it's exciting to see them lean into some horror things too.
And we have a lot of horror directors in the DCU already.
This is true.
And Guillermo del Toro tended to like a tweet today.
What?
Yeah.
What did he like?
He liked the Swamp Thing.
I like that
announcement. So I don't know. I mean, anything could be read into liking a tweet. He might just be a fan and likes the idea.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of great directors out there that I think that's the advantage to having Gunn too. Is Gunn is a director, so he has that rapport with these guys. You would hope.
Yeah.
So that's again. We'll move on to to the next thing. But yeah,
before we move on to the next thing, I think we can all agree, and I'll just say it out loud for everyone's benefit, that Jeff Daniel Phillips has to play Frankenstein, right?
Which one's that? Sorry.
From the Rob Zombie Monsters movie.
Okay, well.
No good? I'm alone here?
Now I'm disconnecting Jamie from the call. Hold on.
I was going to jokingly say we can't all agree on anything, but that?
I know Brendan agrees with me.
Oh, it was Brendan's favorite movie of the year after Afterlife.
Speaking of Brendan, they just announced that the Superman film will be released in Australia, not in July, but in September.
Yeah.
He's not getting it till September.
That sucks to be him.
Yeah, I'm not waiting on him for that. Sorry.
Anyway, next up is another HBO Max project. It's Waller. So Gunn is focused on Superman Legacy, so he has actually put Peacemaker Season 2 on hold, but Team Peacemaker will continue on in the Waller series. Viola Davis is back. I'll just say, and I've said it before, I've said it a lot, I feel like, over the past year, man, she's such a treasure. I'm so glad that you keep her because she's amazing. So I'm really glad that she's going to still be our Waller. But Crystal Henry and Jeremy Carver are the showrunners, and Jeremy Carver just did Doom Patrol. So it's nice that with Doom Patrol ending, he's already got a new gig still within the DC universe, and Doom Patrol's so great. That's really good. And Peter Safran said that Henry and Carver are crushing it, and James Gunn says it's just the greatest show ever. And so both Creature Commandos and Waller will debut before Superman Legacy, and they're saying it's like an appetizer for the DCU.
I like appetizers. I order lots of them anytime I go out to eat.
There you go. Creature Commandos is mozzarella sticks and Waller is potato skins.
I'm here for
it. I like both of those things.
Yeah, who doesn't? I don't know. So yeah, this really kind of feels like Peacemaker 1.5, but with more Waller, which is great because she's awesome. So yeah, much like the other thing, I'm here for it. This is something I'm excited for anyway, and Yeah, it'll be something nice to tide us over while we wait for some of the bigger projects to get in shape.
And he said the Peacemaker team, most of them will be showing up.
Yes, right. And I hope that means Peacemaker himself.
I was going to say the same thing. I hope it includes Peacemaker. I hope we have Adebayo in there because she was great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I will say this was the first one when he was going through the slate, when he brought this one up, I was like, huh. Because this is the first moment I was like, okay, so this is not a complete reboot.
Yeah.
That we're keeping some elements here and I'm glad because as you said, I love Viola Davis and I love her in this role.
I think we got just a little bit ahead of ourselves in that he did address the 4 movies that will be released this year.
Yeah.
And he did say, I mean, we all assumed it anyway, right? But he did say that Flash is essentially going to reset the whole universe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've all assumed that right along, but I feel like that's the first time somebody in a position of his or that level has acknowledged, yes, this is the reset button.
Agreed. And I think you're right. His initial comments, I think, again, it was very smart of him gassing up the 4 movies for this year. And he also said, we're very fortunate for the 4 movies that we inherited, or something to that effect, basically saying I'm really glad these are the 4 movies that we got, because it sounds like they don't really screw up his plans. He started with Shazam! Fury of the Gods and heavily implied, if not outright said, that Shazam will continue in its own. He said it's sort of already its own little corner of the DC universe, and it seems like the plan is that Shazam will just keep going. Like, no reboot needed.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone else find it interesting that he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said Shazam leads right into the Flash? Do you think there's some connective tissue between the 2 films, or is he just saying that in that it's not connected to anything else? So
I mean, they're going to be kind of right on top of each other, assuming Flash doesn't get pushed back again, which at this point I doubt it does. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're going to release within less than 90 days from each other?
April, May, June. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't take it to mean like the story would lead into it. I think he just meant like the calendar, like Shazam will lead into the Flash. Yeah.
Okay.
But Shazam was the one I think he was the most firm about continuing, because then he talked about the Flash and he said it was great, and he did say it would reset the universe, but he didn't really say what that meant. I noticed
should he have, in my opinion.
Well, of course not. Of course not. Leave it.
Yeah, that's why we need to see the movie.
Yeah. But he also, I feel like, was intentionally vague about the future of the Flash themselves, not to mention Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Like, though he didn't really address that. And even in the follow-up questions in the interviews, he played it safe. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said, there's no reason that the actors playing these characters couldn't continue to play these characters.
Well, and what he said about the Flash and kind of confirming our suspicions about that being the reset button makes me even more curious about Blue Beetle and Aquaman. Like, where did those fit within that reset button?
Yeah.
So
I feel like Blue Beetle is safe enough to fit into what they're going to do. I wouldn't be terribly concerned about that, especially since they're introducing Booster Gold in this first phase of the plan. And obviously those two are, pretty well connected.
Yes. Yeah. But that's known. He did not say yes or no to Blue Beetle, but much like Shazam, it feels like it's sort of left in its own little corner where if it continues, it isn't going to mess anything up.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the Flash,
Aquaman 2 would be a bigger question mark about that for me than Blue Beetle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's firmly rooted in what came before.
Yes. James Gunn did say, I will say here, that Flash is probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. And it does reset everything. And then When asked about Ezra Miller, Peter Safran said, Ezra is completely committed to their recovery, and we're fully supportive of that journey that they're on right now. When the time is right, when they feel like they're ready to have the discussion, we'll all figure out what is the best path forward. But right now, they're completely focused on their recovery, and in our conversations with them over the past couple of months, it feels like they're making enormous progress.
If I may just go ahead and interject my own 2 cents here. Thank God.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that this is finally happening. We've all wanted them to get help, and it sounds like that is happening. And I am
not all of us, but I mean all 4 of us. But you know, there are a lot of people who've watched it with popcorn.
Speaking for my comrades here, I think we've all asked for that and wanted it, and it sounds like it's happening. So. Great. I feel that is great news, and I hope the commitment maintains and the recovery is, I don't want to say speedy because it's certainly not something you want to rush through. You want to make sure it's right, not fast. So
yeah.
But I'm that's great news to me. I really glad to hear that.
Agreed.
Real quick on that, I do want to say I heard a conversation today, and I won't say who it was, but it did make a lot of sense to me. And Jamie, you're absolutely right. The most important thing is Ezra is getting the help that they need. That's first and foremost. The conversation that I heard, the person was saying there are 2 possibilities here. A, this is serious, and they are really waiting to determine what the outcome of his, all of his court situations and his mental health. And what that outcome is, or B, they already know that Ezra's never going to play the Flash again. But why in the world would you say that right before your film comes out?
And that's fair. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's necessarily right or it's what I want either way, but I think that's a fair point.
And again, I think that's why they were very careful with how they answered these questions, especially about the Flash. And even Aquaman, is that they didn't say yes or no. And even Shazam Shazam felt like the firmest answer is they're not going to say no before the movies come out. And also they're leaving themselves the out. Like if these movies are hits and things are starting to look up, then they've got the option to continue with them. So along those lines, and again, I've seen people freak out and be like, how could they keep Ezra Miller? And it's like, well, they haven't yet, right? All they said is Ezra's focused on their recovery. We're going to have that conversation when we're ready. That's it. It can go either way. Personally, I like Ezra in the role. I hope Ezra gets the help they need, and I would have no problem with them coming back, but they don't even know at this point, and that's okay. But I found that quote about what Gunn said. He said, we will say we've gotten very lucky inheriting these next 4 projects. And then Safran is the one that said, these 4 movies are terrific. There's no reason why any of the characters and the actors playing those characters are not part of the DCU. There's nothing that prohibits that from happening. So they're leaving their options open, which is smart. Blue Beetle, as we said, like, we don't even know how connected Blue Beetle is to the current universe, but it feels like it's a pretty safe bet that it's standalone enough that it could continue.
And then Aquaman right now is in post-production.
Yeah.
Okay. They could make adjustments to that film to make it fit whatever narrative or piece that they want to into this upcoming universe.
Yeah.
They've got time.
Yeah, of course. And I will also say this is that allegedly, right, you take everything with a grain of salt, but allegedly over the past couple of months, they did additional reshoots on The Flash. And that was when Gunn and Safran were already in charge. So those reshoots could have been to alter the Flash enough so it resets this new universe as opposed to what it was going to set up previously.
And we know they've done multiple things with Aquaman 2 as well.
Yeah. And so Aquaman 2 still wraps up the year for Christmas. There was a quote I saw, and again, now I'm not seeing it, but where I guess James Gunn said Jason Momoa always wanted to do a trilogy, so there will be an Aquaman 3.
Huh.
Did you see that?
No, but I remember the thing popped up a little while back about Jason being like super excited about a project that he was discussing with them.
Mm-hmm.
which that sounds like that very well could be it, because, everybody automatically assumes, well, he's got to be Lobo because he looks the part. And you know what? I'm not even mad at that, but, maybe they were talking to him about being the voice and the actor playing the Frankenstein part. We don't know what's going on there, but if they've talked about an Aquaman 3 happening, I have to believe that's what Jason was, super into it.
Yeah. So
it makes sense.
I need to figure out where that quote came from, because again, they were flying Fast and Furious all day.
Yeah, I saw all kinds of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and relieve Joe right now, because I don't know if you guys discussed or saw this. Somebody talked to David Bautista about something with him playing Bane.
And he confirmed it. He's our new Bane, guys.
Allegedly, he had the discussion, I think, with James Gunn, and he kind of the offer wasn't necessarily made. The way the conversation sounded to me was like they were talking about it, but the Bautista said, "You need somebody younger than me to play this part." At least that's how I took the conversation.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
Okay, I will say this. I mean, yay. But I want to say it was Robert Reinecke, so I want to give credit where credit is due, because of course we were chatting about this today too. He said, "What about Dave Bautista as the new Swamp Thing?" And that I'm not mad at.
I'll touch on that when we get to Swamp Thing.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, here, guys,
I heard Jesse Eisenberg for Swamp Thing. I don't know where you're getting that information from.
I found that quote for you, though, Andy.
Oh, thank you. Yes, where'd you find it?
It was per Collider.
Okay,
and the pair directly addressed Momoa's future in the DCU, touching on the rumors that he'd be leaving the Aquaman role behind for a Lobo movie. Safran says that Momoa will only be playing one character in the DCU, shutting down the notion that he could play both of these characters moving forward. With that said, Safran says it's too early, blah, 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 blah. But he said Jason always thought Aquaman was a trilogy in his own mind, teasing a third installment. He said, but he also loves Lobo. He's been very clear about that too. He's never going to play two characters, but no decision has been made.
All right. Thank you so much for finding that. I appreciate it.
I mean, if Jaimin Hansu can play too, why can't Jason Momoa?
That's true. Anyway, before we get back, I have breaking news. It's an exclusive. It's a Holy BatCast exclusive. Alexandra Daddario has been cast as Wonder Woman. So good news, everybody.
Who saw that coming?
Check it off the list. Check it off.
And Willem Dafoe
is the Joker. Yeah, Willem Dafoe is the new Joker.
Oh, I hate you guys so much.
John Hamm is Batman.
Jensen Ackles is Batman.
John Hamm is Two-Face.
Okay, yeah, good. Anyway, so okay, where are we? So yes, they did.
Tom Holland is Damien.
Thank you. They did hype up the again the 4 movies coming out this year. Sounds like 2024 is going to be a lean year for DC fans, with only Joker 2 and, well, hopefully Waller and Creature Commandos. Hopefully that'll at least help tide us over. And then 2025 we start in earnest, because in July of 2025 we do get Superman Legacy. So it's set to open on July 11th. And as Safran and Gunn both said, it is the official start of the new DCU. It will not be an origin story. It focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He's the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks of kindness as old-fashioned. Gunn is writing, and he's still writing, but Safran even said, he kind of threw Gunn under the bus and said, I hope we can persuade Gunn to direct as well. And James Gunn apparently just sat there poker-faced. And this quote I love from James Gunn. He said, Superman is for everyone. That's a 4-quadrant film that should speak to everyone in the world. And amen to that. Amen. Like, that is what a Superman movie should be. It should be a movie for all of us and our kids and our parents and our wives. So Superman Legacy. Joe, you start us off.
Well, before everyone starts coming after you, I agree with you. Superman should be a 4-quadrant spectacle. That doesn't mean that we all don't love what we've gotten from Henry Cavill.
No, Superman. Of course not. Of course.
Again, we got that. so let's do something different.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I'll just interject here and say my love of Henry Cavill as Superman did nothing to alter my love of Christopher Reeve as Superman, did nothing to alter 100%. My love of Tom Welling as Superman. There's room for all this stuff. But anyway, Joe, continue. Sorry.
No, and also, I don't know if you were going to bring this up, but I'm sure Eric is going to want to talk about Superman and Lois is not canceled. We are getting Superman and Lois for at least 1 or 2 more seasons, apparently. So, but let's stick to Legacy right now. We knew we were getting this. We knew that Gunn was writing it. Me personally, I do think he's probably going to direct it. I think for his own sanity, he's probably better off not directing it. I feel like, for no pun intended, people are going to be gunning for him when it's announced he's directing it. Do you guys kind of feel that way? Like,
I feel like there's a small but vocal group that will be, but if I can change my pretty hard stance that I've had on James Gunn for as long as I've had it, there's room, guys. Give him a chance. I think you can nail it.
Jamie. If you can change and I can change, then we can all change.
Yeah.
I am rooting for him because I feel like anytime, like if he ends up directing this film and there's like a couple of stupid humor jokes, people are gonna be like, we just got a James Gunn Superman movie, that kind of thing. And listen, I'm rooting for him. I'm so excited that we're getting a new Superman film. I mean, I wanted Henry Cavill to come back. I'm not going to deny that.
All 4 of us did. Like, my excitement for this Superman film, and I think any of our excitement for this, to your point, does not mean we don't love Man of Steel. It doesn't mean we don't love Henry Cavill in the part. And I still say Henry Cavill should have gotten another shot. None of that is untrue, but I can still be excited about this movie.
Mm-hmm. And I will even go as far as say I will probably be more excited. I would have been more excited if this was Henry Cavill. But I can still be excited here because we've all been hoping for another Superman film. That we've all wanted one. Whether we liked, hated, or loved BVS or Man of Steel, everyone wanted another Superman film. All of us were in agreement on that. That's like the one thing all of us agreed on is we wanted a Superman film. We're getting one now. So, yes, there are some people that are pissed because it's not Henry Cavill. I'm disappointed it's not Henry Cavill. But as a whole, I am so excited that we're getting a Superman film. We're getting one that, I mean, I guess for lack of a better term, we're starting from scratch. We have nowhere to look but up with this film because it's starting the new universe. And that's exciting. It's the unknown. It's that uncharted territory of like what we felt in the lead up to the Batman is all the new reveals that we're going to get. We got the new Batmobile for that. We got the new, and whether you like it or not, the ride is fun. It's fun seeing those reveals. And we're going to get that now with a new Superman film. We're going to get the suit reveal. We're going to get the director reveal. We're going to get the reveal of the villain. This is all fun stuff. This is stuff we look forward to. And that's why I keep saying the ride is just as good as actually getting the film, because once the film comes, the ride's over. And you either love the film or you don't. And then it's like, so I choose, and call me ignorant, call me whatever you want. I choose to be excited because I don't want to be mad about something I can't control. We're getting another Superman film. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what could be. And that is what is fun right now is we don't know anything about this film other than we're getting a Superman film that's being written by James Gunn. That's it. We haven't seen a picture. We haven't seen a trailer. We haven't seen who the director is going to be, even though we do assume at this point, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's 50-50 whether it's going to be James Gunn or someone else.
The only reason I wouldn't want him to helm this is if he's busy piecing together everything else. Mm-hmm. I want him to be the head of this ship, the captain of the ship, if you will. He and Saffron both. And if he has it in him to maintain that and direct the film, I'm all for it. If he has to choose between the two, I want him to find somebody else.
I agree with you. I'm less concerned about his tone and more concerned about what you said, Jamie. I'm more concerned that his hands are already going to be full And if he is stuck in production for 2 years, he's got a universe to run.
Yeah. And I think if anything's going to miss out by him doing that, the universe is going to miss out. He's going to focus on the movie.
Yeah.
I think he knows how important that Superman film is. So we'll see. And again, whether he directs it or not, I like James Gunn as a director. Are there things I don't like about his films? Yeah, of course. I don't think any film director is perfect. But again, we're getting a new Superman film. And I'm just excited that it's finally announced and concrete. We have a date. Let's just see what happens from here. And listen, if you guys see the trailer and you're like, this looks like crap, okay, fine. But don't be negative until you have a reason to be negative.
Well, I think I would say about it, I think the comfort level in Gunn saying that, he's once they set their slate, which it sounds like they've already got even more than this set, and he and Safran choose their creators, it does sound like they're going to be very willing to let the creators tell their stories. Now, of course, they're going to make notes and things like that, but that makes me comfortable in the fact that, because I think going in, it was made clear Gunn would be doing some creative in this universe. And I think as a filmmaker, it would stifle his creativity if he could not direct, if he could not write. So I do want him to be able to do that. So honestly, I want him to direct this Superman movie because I want him to prove the naysayers wrong. Because I do think
that's a great point.
I do think James Gunn is capable, and I think he has the respect for the character to make a movie that doesn't fit into the restraints that people try to put James Gunn's stories in. Because I do believe he can tell a different kind of story. I want to see that.
I agree with that, and I'm on board with that. But we know this guy is hardworking. We know he can juggle a lot of stuff at once because he's playing between Marvel and DC right now at this point and putting in work on both. But there will come a point over the next several years where he could very easily burn himself out if he's burning it at both ends that much. And that's what I don't want. I don't want him getting burnt out where he's just like, I got to step away for 6 months. You guys take care of this. I'll be back in a minute. I don't need that.
Yeah, so I agree with that.
Again, if he can maintain and direct this film, yes, I'm 100% on board. If he has to choose, that's where I have a problem.
And just to really piss everybody off, I think they should just go ahead and cast Austin Butler as Superman. Just to...
If you don't think he's on the short list, you're crazy.
He's from Kansas.
He is. I
can use that.
I guarantee you he's on the short list at WB right now.
He would not be my choice, but I'd go with it.
I'm just saying, like,
I'm not even playing the casting game anymore. I'm out on that whole thing.
I think Dave Bautista would be a great Superman.
I will say in all seriousness though, they led with this whole beginning, and as controversial as David Zaslav has been, he led this by saying that he's very committed to Superman, and Superman should be an important character in the universe. I completely agree with that, and the fact that this is their kickoff, and they've kind of said, no, we're not ending Superman and Lois. It does make me feel like Superman is more of an importance than he's been in years, and that's a really good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, since Man of Steel.
Yeah,
right.
And I love that and we're going to get to that with the next film. I love that they're not shying away from multiple versions of these characters at once on screen. Where years ago, that Superman and Lois show would have been done way before this Superman movie got announced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I mean, I agree with that, Eric, is Superman should be a priority. He is a priority. They are now true to their word. Both Gunn and Zaslav have said what a priority Superman is. And that seems to be the case. And I'm grateful for it. Like Joe said, would I have done it differently? Would I have brought Cavill back? I would have. And again, I'm still bummed that Cavill didn't get another go at it. But here's the thing, guys. He's going to be fine. He's rich. He's handsome. He's talented. He's got 100 other jobs lined up for him. He's okay. It's a bummer, but he's okay. And the character is bigger than any one actor. And I'm excited to have Superman grace the big screen again, and I'm excited to see how it goes. So you can be bummed about Cavill, and you can still be excited, like Joe said, and I'm right there with you. So, and I also think that is symbolically, it is fitting that a new Superman would kick off the new universe. Just feels right. We're going back to TV now, and now back to a series that Jamie might be a little excited about. Lanterns. Yes. So even Safran and Gunn seemed really excited about this one. Safran described it as a huge HBO quality event, very much in the vein of True Detective. It'll focus on two of the best known Lanterns, Hal Jordan and John Stewart, who are investigating a mystery, and Safran says it plays a really big role leading up into the main story that we're telling across film and television. So this is very important for us. So the Berlanti version of the Green Lantern Corps series has gone away. This is replacing it. And Safran also said that Greg's vision was more of a space opera, but ours is more of a True Detective, terrestrial-based investigation story. So, Jamie, you go first because, you're chomping at the bit.
So, first of all, I'll address the fact that I love that it's Hal and John, because that takes the whole debate over who it should be right there.
Dude, that was both of our pitches on the last episode.
Yeah.
Was a Hal John buddy cop movie.
I told you guys, Jimmy told me how much he loved my Slate and decided he wanted to use it. Oh, I don't know why you didn't listen to me when I said that. Yeah, I call him Jimmy because we're tight.
You're tight. You're tight.
So the terrestrial-based thing, I mean, it's still going to be Green Lanterns. They're still going to be using their powers. They're still going to be doing their stuff. I'm not mad at that. Would I have preferred the space opera concept? Maybe. But I'm still rolling with this because this is so exciting to me that it's finally going to happen. Because I feel like I've been waiting for this for, 8 years? Is that how long it's been since they announced that at Comic-Con?
Yeah, something.
It's been a while.
You feel what I'm saying, though? That's a long damn time.
Yeah.
And, I've been promised movies. I've been promised TV shows. And I just, I got some teases over in the Arrowverse and all that jive. But I'm finally going to get it. And I am all in for it. All in. And this is one of those things that has turned the gears in me because this will lead into the bigger story. There are things that are not able to be talked about because the titles are too revealing on what's happening in the bigger story. The name of this phase, or whatever we're going to call it, I'm just going to call it a phase because it just feels natural at this point. The name of this phase is Gods and Monsters. Mm-hmm. There is something brewing in this universe that's going to have to deal with the Creature Commandos, potentially the Suicide Squad with Waller, Swamp Thing, the Green Lanterns, Superman and Batman. And you have to believe maybe something stems out of the prequel series with Paradise Lost. I mean, something major's coming here. And for all of these things to have to deal with it, and I have no clue what it is, that's like crazy exciting to me.
It is revealing that when saying how this is going to play a big role in setting up the larger story, and the way they described it as like this investigative thing, this true detective mystery, I feel like they're the ones who are going to unearth whatever this big threat is, whatever kind of god or monster that is going to be threatening the universe. I feel like the Lanterns are going to be the one who discover it first.
That feels right. It feels very possible.
Yeah.
I am so excited for this, guys. I hope he says there will be other Lanterns peppered in. So we have the potential for Cruz, Kyle, Gardner, Kilowog, the Guardians, Oa, Mogo. I mean, it's all possible for this to be in here at some point or another, or at the very least reference that we know it's there. Mm-hmm. And I could not be more excited. This is by far and away the most excited that I am for anything that was announced today or anything that seems to be on the horizon. I am just geeked. I have a green glow about me. I know you can't see it because we're on audio right now, but I'm glowing green and smiling because I am so pumped for this. It's going to be so awesome.
Yeah. And I will also say, like, I was excited for the Berlanti show. It's a shame because we had some great actors cast already, but the Berlanti show seemed like it was focusing on Guy Gardner and Alan Scott. And they're fine, but I will happily trade them for Hal and John.
Word.
You know, like if this is going to be the Green Lanterns, let's go with the two biggies, you know, let's not focus on Guy Gardner. So I'm sad for Berlanti, but I will take this over that.
I promise you, Berlanti is at home laying in his Scrooge McDuck piles of money and not crying a single tear over this.
He and Cavill are swimming together in the Scrooge McDuck pile.
Do you have any idea how much money Greg Berlanti makes every year? Dude, it's sick.
I'm sure.
Disgusting.
He's still on as a producer for HBO.
Oh yeah, and then again, like, I feel like with all of these changes, Gunn and Safran have been very smart about like not burning bridges with the talent who was previously there. You know, they've tried to handle it in the right way, and even then, they're pretty complimentary to Greg Berlanti, even though they're going in a different direction.
Yeah, I'll say my only disappointment with this is obviously Finn Wittrock is probably not going to be the star of this one. Because I feel really bad for him because it feels like kind of similar to Cavill. He's been dangled with this for quite a while. Like they've, you know, it's a will they, won't they? Are they going to make it? Are they not? And he was supposed to be the star of that show, so that's unfortunate because he's a really great actor. However, I'm just as excited about this show. I kind of get a vibe that it's kind of going to be a modern hard traveling heroes, except we've got two lanterns instead of Arrow and Lantern. So
I took it that way too, Eric. That's exactly what I was thinking.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. I think it'll be cool, and yeah, I think Greg Berlanti and Finn Wittrock are fine. I think they'll be okay, and hopefully with what they were talking about with peppering other lanterns in, maybe we still will get Finn at some point.
Mm-hmm. That would be actually really fun because you're right. Like having cameos from other lanterns, that would be cool as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, anything to add?
Well, like I was excited for the original pitch with Finn Wittrock as Guy Gardner, but I feel like that felt like a supplemental Green Lantern show where it was like we can't use the biggies, so we're gonna make a show here, and maybe the biggies will show up in the films. And I don't think any of us were really feeling promising about the film happening. So it was like, well, if we're not getting the film anytime soon, can we just get a Green Lantern show like that shows everybody? Where I'm excited that now we're getting a Lantern show. I mean, I'm sitting here right now. I'm pretty deep into my absolute Sinestro Corps War book right now. For this, I've already read this story a couple times, but I love the Green Lantern Corps, and I love the mythology there, and just Jamie mentioning Mogo just has me giddy that like we're gonna get, you know, finally the Green Lanterns involved in the DCU. And I just think there's so much to go there. And you're right with this leading to something big that we don't know yet. And, you know, could it be something with the Green, with Swamp Thing and the monsters, or could it be something galactic like, dare I say, Anti-Monitor? Like lead towards that where, you know, something, you know, buried deep in the antimatter universe, or who knows where they're going with this. And I think again, I keep going back to that's the exciting part right now is we don't know. It could be anything, but we're seeing all this stuff. And yeah, I'm looking around at my in my room right now and seeing like the one character that I'm missing as far as like live action statues is Green Lantern, because we only got the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern film. We didn't get anything moving forward. I'm still waiting for the sequel to that because I was so desperate for more Green Lantern. I would have taken a sequel to that.
Same. Are you kidding?
I still
kind of like that movie. Okay.
Yeah, I don't get whatever, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But I'm just excited we're officially getting something Green Lantern involved in the greater universe, because the Green Lanterns deserve to be part of that. And yes, again, I know, you know, that was planned initially with the Snyder stuff and I wanted to see where that went, but again, not dwelling on that. I want to see where this goes, and I'm so excited that we're getting, Hal and John now in a show on HBO, because we're getting the wheelhouse, and I can't wait to see if Jessica Cruz or Simon Baz shows up, or how Sinestro is going to work in. Can we get the spectrum? Like, I mean, it's only one season that we're talking about right now, but where they can lead to with that, the Green Lantern mythology works so much better, in my opinion, on a show, and that's what I'm so happy about with the way Gunn is treating this. Is like, if we have a longer story to tell, it doesn't matter that it's probably a property that could maybe work in film. If the story we're telling works in TV better, let's do that. And that's what I'm really excited about, is the long form storytelling for Green Lantern, because it's such a dense mythology is really exciting to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, like, having Hal and John is so exciting, because they are, I think, the two premier Green Lanterns. And like Jamie said, like, you don't have to choose. You can have them both. Beware my power. You can have them both. They can both be great Green Lanterns, and you can team them up. And so that's exciting. And I will also say, is something that Jamie touched on about it being a more terrestrial, Earth-based series as opposed to a space opera. This might be my hottest take, but I'm good with that. Like, I appreciate the space opera-ness of the Green Lantern mythos, but sometimes I want to see Green Lantern stop bad guys on Earth. I want to see him be a superhero on Earth, in our world, too.
I want to see Hal inflate a 40-foot in diameter green boxing glove to decapitate a purse snatcher. Baby, I need that in my life.
Okay. So...
What? No, just me? All right.
So I do understand the folks who were like, no, it should all be in space, but I think there's a balance, and you don't want to ignore the space aspect, but I don't want it all set in space. I still want it to be, forgive the term, grounded more on Earth, and to see him be a superhero here, or to see them be superheroes here. I also think it's probably a smarter budgetary play, because now we can see them do a lot cooler things, because you're not paying for, flying rigs and green screen for them to be in space for the whole series. And so hopefully that means for bigger wows as they use their rings on Earth. So I haven't seen much complaining about it, but to be honest, I haven't looked that much, but I could see some fans taking, umbrage with that, because they want it to be a space opera, and I get it, but I have no problem with being a little more Earth-based.
Assuming we're doing some world building as this series goes through 7 episodes, 10, 12, whatever it's going to be, there's possibilities for the future. We could get a War of the Lanterns with the reds versus the greens versus the blues. I mean, we could get all of that later. We don't need to start off with that. So
that's actually was what I was going to say too, Jamie. I completely agree. Start with the character-based, Earth-based stuff to set up these characters, make you invest in these characters. They're still going to have Earth-based stuff. Oa-based stuff in the show. I'm sure they have to show something with that, but build to that. And who's to say instead of having a second season, they're not going to have a film, because the second part of this story that they have to tell deserves that budget. If the show is that popular, now they know they have a successful film at the palms of their hands.
Well, here's the thing too, and Andy, you touched on this when you were talking about it. Safran described this as a huge HBO quality event. That, I think that's the blessing we have as DC fans with this, with who the parent companies are. Because if you look at the HBO series that have been made in the past and are on TV now, if you look at...
We're talking about The Last of Us before we started recording.
The Last of Us, House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, Westworld. These are shows, all unbelievably great-looking shows.
They're very cinematic, and that's important. And when he says HBO quality, that perks my ears up, because HBO is like the gold standard when it comes to TV.
Totally. That's a great point.
And they've almost brought back the water cooler TV show.
Yeah.
Like, HBO has almost transcended cable TV. Like, nobody has appointment TV anymore, except I feel like HBO is the one exception now, where, I mean, even though I'm not watching The Last of Us, I hear about it every Sunday night. People are discussing these films the minute they're released. I mean, I'm sorry, these shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that says a lot about what people expect from HBO quality shows. And I think the DC brand can only benefit from that.
Yeah, very true. Well, we're moving to the next film. The next film is The Authority. This is an ensemble movie about superhumans who have a less than idealistic approach to saving the world. Gunn said that he's really excited to bring this to life. The characters are from Wildstorm. They were later folded into the main DC Comics universe in 2011 as part of the New 52, and Gunn said that he and Safran intend to do the same with these characters, is to make them part of the DC universe. The comic was created by Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch as an ends justify the means superhero team. And so Gunn and Safran liked this because it allows them to diversify the storytelling within the DCU. Gunn says it isn't just a story of heroes and villains, and not every movie and TV show is going to be about good guys versus bad guys. There are people that are very questionable, like the Authority, who basically believe that you can't fix the world in an easy manner, and they take things into their own hands. Safran said, they're kind of like Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. They know that you want them on the wall, or at least they believe that. Gunn says that the movie is being written, but he didn't say who is writing it. So, Eric, you start us off on this one.
So I actually have read some of The Authority. I've read some of the old stuff, the old Wildstorm stuff. If you like The Boys, you will like The Authority. They are a very irreverent superhero team. I think James Gunn kind of alluded to that. Yeah, they're kind of like for lack of a better term, they're the asshole version of the Justice League. So
that's what I know nothing about them. Nothing. In fact, when I heard The Authority, I was like, what, is that a thing? Because I don't think I even recognize the name. But reading the description, I immediately thought, oh, it's The Boys.
Very similar. I don't know how this is going to play. I'm very intrigued by it. I'm not going to go so far as to say I'm overly excited for it, but I mean, I'm definitely going to be there. I'm just very curious as to how this is going to play. There's a very villainous approach to some parts of The Authority, and I can see them being tied into kind of the big bad of the first chapter or phase here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm curious, curiously optimistic, I'd say.
All right, Joe.
Eric just told me more about the characters that I've known at all. Like I could not know any less about these characters other than I remember seeing the Wildstorm logo and associating that with Jim Lee. I think what makes me excited about this is the fact that I know nothing about these characters, but something has made them important enough for the James Gunn to want to put them in the first chapter. And I'm on board with that. Like, for them to somehow play a part that is necessary enough to put them right in the core of this storytelling has me excited, because again, I sometimes I like the refreshing nature of not knowing and just coming in cold. And of course, I'm probably going to end up diving into the comics, so I won't be cold prior, but that's another plus too, is get me invested in new characters that I didn't have any interest in prior. So that's pretty much all I got to say about that. That's pretty much it. Yeah. I don't have anything else to add. Sorry.
That's okay, Jamie.
So I don't know anything specifically about The Authority, but the Wildstorm stuff that I read in the kind of post, during the Rebirth era, post Rebirth, whatever you want to call it. Warren Ellis wrote a lot of it. It's very character driven. It's very well written. A lot of really strong, like, government espionage sort of things, but with a very heavy sci-fi element to it. So again, I don't know The Authority necessarily, but if that's the kind of thing they want to incorporate into this universe, guess what, guys? I'm here for it. I'm all for that different feel. Gunn mentioned that more than once, I believe, that it's not going to be cookie cutter stuff. It's not going to be the same thing over and over again. And if they want to bring that element into it, great. I'm in. I don't think I need anything quite as drastic as The Boys, and it doesn't sound to me like this is quite on that level. And I love The Boys, don't get me wrong, no disrespect, but I think a toned down version of that in this shared universe would be a welcome addition.
I'll be honest. This is the one I don't really care about at all. I just don't.
You're going to see it.
Of course I will. Of course I'll see it. And that's what I guess that's kind of the nice thing is I have no expectations. I don't care. I have no opinions on what it should or shouldn't be. Just nothing. Like clean slate. So it's hard to get excited about it because I have no background in it. Of course I will check it out, and I hope that it's something that knocks me off my feet and is really great. But yeah, as far as the slate goes, this is the one where I was just kind of like, okay, if you say so, like do your thing. But I just doesn't matter.
Let's get in the Wayback Machine. Let me take you back to somewhere around 2013 or 2014. Don't remember the specific year, but there was talk of Marvel being over at Disney, and they were going to incorporate the Marvel characters into cinema, comics, all this stuff. And there was going to be an animated movie. And the very first animated movie they announced for a Marvel property was this weird thing that nobody ever heard of called Big Hero 6. And we were all kind of like, really? That's the choice you made for your first Marvel property? And I can't speak for everybody, but as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the best movies Disney's released in a long time.
You'll get no argument here. It's actually one of my favorite Disney animated movies. So again, I am leaving open the possibility of being blown away by this thing. It's just something going into it that I just was like, yeah, all right, whatever.
I get it.
It's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy.
With that feeling. Yeah.
Who had expectations for Guardians of the Galaxy before that film came out?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking Jamie was leading.
Yeah, that's where I thought he was going to, but yeah, it's all good.
No, I'm just
6
saying,
is a better example because I knew Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'll be honest, I'm still disappointed that Yondu isn't like Yondu in the book, but that's just me.
You can pull a really obscure property that most people on the planet have never heard of, and I know some of you hipsters have heard of everything, so I know some of you already have tattoos of the Authority on your entire back, but the point is, when you pull an obscure thing like that, that doesn't mean it won't be great and it won't be an instantaneous smash. You know what I mean? It just could be that thing. So I'll wait and see, but I'm not like over the moon about it, but I'm very interested to see what happens.
And it allows more creative freedom when you take those obscure characters because there's less restriction there.
Yeah.
Because other than those few hipsters that'll claim that they love the characters that much, you can pretty much do whatever you want and nobody's going to really take you to task for it.
Yep. All right. Well, moving back to TV, Paradise Lost. This is Games of Thrones-ish. As Safran says, it is Themyscira before the birth of Wonder Woman. It's really about the political intrigue behind a society of all women. James Gunn says, how did it come about? What's the origin of an island of all women? What are the beautiful truths and the ugly truths behind all of that? And what's that scheming like between the different power players in that society? So a Game of Thrones, Themyscira, Wonder Woman prequel, but very clear that Wonder Woman herself will not be in attendance. Joe, thoughts?
Well, first I'll say yet. We don't know if they'll lead to Wonder Woman eventually, but I might be one of the only people on the planet that has never watched Game of Thrones.
Joe, but come on, man.
I know. I'm sorry, but I will not deny the cultural impact that show has had. So when you hear Game of Thrones in the same sentence as DC, let alone Themyscira, sign me up. I mean, I would love nothing more than to see a bunch of badass women on an island in an HBO show and just seeing what they can do with that, with the history of the island and take from whatever lore you can with the Wonder Woman comics and even explore new things. And again, you could do a number of things with that. And I think again, it falls into that freedom category. Is who's to say what is and what isn't accurate? You have so many options to explore there, and again, to fall under that umbrella of HBO is already giving you a leg up. And it's just something else I'm here for. I don't know what they're going to, start with. I don't know how much of, I mean, again, we fall back to that Gods and Monsters title. I was going to say, are they going to keep it more grounded, or are we going to see the beginnings of Ares and Zeus and all that stuff? Like, who knows what they're going to explore there? And again, just exciting.
What if whatever this big threat ends up being is something that the Amazons battled with 1,000 years ago?
I was thinking that exact same thing.
Because Gunn has been very clear about all of this. It seems like all of these projects are deliberately chosen to tell one story. And it makes me go, so why a Themyscira prequel? Why? How does that factor into this overarching story? And that's what I came up with.
Remember, someone said Wonder Woman's not included in his slate, and he said false. Yet we didn't get any announcement for a Wonder Woman film.
Nope.
And what is the title of this Wonder Woman film that we might be getting? Is that possibly the secret?
Well, they've made it clear, though.
I think it's Wonder Woman gives Doomsday a handy.
Oh, jeez. Well, they made it clear, though, that they did not release the entire first chapter slate.
Yeah. So. No, they didn't.
Well, and new quote, hot off the press, they did ask James Gunn about Gal Gadot, and he said, we've talked to Gal, and she's up to doing more. So take that as you will. I felt like this Paradise Lost was sort of a strategic thing of like, we don't know what Wonder Woman will be, or we're not ready to talk about what Wonder Woman will be. Mm-hmm. So here is a story in Wonder Woman's world, but without Wonder Woman.
Mm.
That's how I took it until you said about the whole secret, or was it Jamie that said like the titles that might give away too much, because I did not hear that. And I think that does change a lot, especially if all this stuff is leading towards something big. Like you said, Andy, why a Themyscira prequel? How is that going to tie into the big picture?
Yeah.
How does a Themyscira prequel tie into a Green Lanterns TV show?
I know. Yeah. Time will tell. Jamie, thoughts?
Because I don't want to see a bunch of kick-ass women on an island fighting something. I don't care what time era it's in. I mean, as long as it's not written or directed by the guy that did the 355, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, Game of Thrones, and Themyscira feel like a very natural fit to do something very fantasy, very epic, very exciting, and then really set up what Themyscira is in this world. So
another Breaking Holy BatCast exclusive. Lena Headey is playing Hippolyta in the series.
Okay, good.
Zack Snyder to direct.
And she started a whole island of women after she couldn't be around her brother anymore. Eric, anything to add?
I'm fascinated by this. I don't know how this is going to fit into the rest. I'm intrigued, like kind of Joe said, where if they'll. This seems like world building to me. This is the world building corner of this universe. But I think it's fascinating that you do get kind of this, because we've all seen the Wonder Woman movies. We've seen bits and pieces of Themyscira, but to see kind of like the ins and outs of how daily life goes in Themyscira, how their politics work, and they even referenced Paradise Island Lost, which was a Phil Jimenez and George Perez comic, which there was a civil war in Themyscira. In that comic. So that would be interesting too, just to see how the dynamic works in a world basically where there's only women. And then you also look at the Game of Thrones-ish quote, and I can absolutely see just the picturesque landscapes, how HBO can shoot this show. And if nothing else, it'll be gorgeous to look at.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, whether it was intentional or coincidental or what, but the image chosen to display for this was the Amazons fighting some men, one of whom had a sword sticking through his neck. So who knows what'll come out of that? But I'm in. I'm here for it.
I mean, and the first thing I think of when they say Gods and Monsters is Gods and Mortals is the George Perez Wonder Woman run.
Yeah, I mean, and this is where we get more into gods. There are certainly the metaphorical gods of Superman himself and the Green Lanterns, but here we're talking about literal gods with Themyscira.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that factor in?
It's interesting.
All right, we're headed back to the movies with The Brave and the Bold.
Yes.
I kind of want to save this to the end, but I said I'd go in this order. We're going to meet our DCU version of Batman. It will be a new actor. And this film will be Batman teaming up with Damian, his son, as Robin. But they also mentioned the inclusion of the Bat family. And there was a quote of James Gunn, not in front of me. It was something about the Bat family who have not been given their due on screen or something like that. And to that I say amen. But he did say that Damian Wayne is his favorite Robin, and he called him our favorite Robin, a little son of a bitch who's an assassin and a murderer. Accurate. But they also said that Damian, as Bruce Wayne's son, Wayne did not know about Damian for the first 8 to 10 years. And so it's a strange father-son story between the two of them. It's based on the Grant Morrison run, and he also called Morrison's run extremely influential to the DCU. He also mentioned comics by Tom King, who was part of the writer's room. And speaking of the writer's room, I have a list here of these are some of the folks who worked with Gunn and Safran putting together the slate and the stories: Drew Goddard, Jeremy Slater, Christina Hodson, Crystal Henry, and Tom King. So The Brave and the Bold, we get a Batman movie. And I think I saw, he didn't say this, but it seems like it is slated for 2026. Doing the math seems like a pretty safe bet, 2026.
Well, 2 movies and 2 series, that would put this one into the following year.
Yep. So, whose turn is it to go first? Eric, is it yours?
Sure.
As the biggest Damian fan here, you should go first. How about that?
This is probably, and not even because of Batman, which is insane. But this is the most exciting announcement on the slate for me. And it's because of, oh God, I love Damian. And I know I'm a wacko. I'm right here with James Gunn on this one. He is my favorite Robin. He is a little son of a bitch. And I just think there's a lot of fun that is had with this character. And I also love the father-son dynamic and the growth of Damian. So I'm excited to see that on screen. My only disappointment is that you didn't get to see a Tim Drake on screen before we got Damian. Andy, I know that sucks a little bit, but
I'm still dealing with it. Thank you.
I'm very curious how they're going to do this, though. I'm very curious, like what age range Bruce will be and what age range Damian will be when we meet him in the movie.
Yes. So thank you for saying that. Just worth mentioning, because they frame this up saying that Bruce didn't know about Damian for 8 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say 10. Let's round up to 10.
Which is promising.
That does imply that Bruce has been Batman at least 10 years.
Mm-hmm. So
yes,
it's an established Batman,
right? That's how I'm taking it, because he would have fathered Damian with Talia, and he's probably not going to run into Talia until he's Batman. Maybe when he's off doing his training around the world, maybe, but even then, he's an adult. So taking this to me means that he's been Batman maybe 10 years. Which does give us some flexibility of being an established Batman and there being the rest of the Bat family who preceded Damian, which is promising to me.
Well, even if this, consummation with Talia happened during his training, that still gives you, 6, 7, 8 years that he could have been Batman. So that's exciting. The one thing I will say, as excited about this as I am, The one thing that tempered my excitement a little bit, and I'm sorry for all you fans of his writing on Batman, the Tom King name kind of tempered my excitement a little bit because I love Tom King. I love him as a person. I love most of his books. I do not like his take on Batman. I don't like how he writes Batman. So that's the only thing that I was kind of like, oh. But otherwise, yeah, super excited to have a new Batman movie. I'm really excited to have two different versions of Batman going at the same time because it feels like a little bit of something for everybody. And also the fact that it's Brave and the Bold, because that name opens up a bunch of different kind of possibilities.
Well, I think Batman is the brave and Damian is the bold.
I mean, and that could be too. But you automatically think like a team up with another hero. So who knows what that'll do.
Yeah. All right. Joe.
Well, as far as the Tom King thing goes, I think that confused me more than hurt my interest because I can't recall Tom King really ever writing Damian. When I think of Damian, and even the Grant Morrison thing, Damian, when I think of Damian as Robin with Bruce Wayne Batman, I think of is it Gleason and Tomasi? Tomasi's the writer.
Yeah.
Gleason's the artist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's the arc that I think of the most, even though he was introduced in the Morrison run. And that explored more in Batman Incorporated and all that. But I've seen people speculate. Do you guys think for a second that Dick Grayson is going to be Batman? Because I feel like they would have specified that, right?
They literally talk about father, son, and talk about Bruce Wayne. So no, I don't think Dick Grayson's Batman.
Because the picture they keep sharing is the picture of Dick Grayson as Batman.
Yeah, no. Because they made it a point to go, this is a story about a father and a son, Bruce and Damian.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I just find it odd that they keep sharing that picture. Probably because the people that are sharing it don't realize that it's...
Probably just because it's a cool picture of Batman and Damian.
Yeah, and it's Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
It's a Grant Morrison title.
Damn interns.
I'm really intrigued by this. I'm curious how they're gonna... It's sad because we're the Batman... We're definitely the Batman uber nerds where we're more than willing to go with certain things when it comes to the other characters. Because this is Batman and because we're talking about the Bat family, my first thought is, okay, we're getting Damian to start. I do trust that with Gunn, we're going to get the Bat family like he said, but are we going to get a condensed version where they skip Tim like they have been? Are they going to go Dick... Jason's dead, then Damian, or are they gonna go the full-on route of all of them and somehow just hit the ground running? This is how it is. Have little hints at them scattered around, whatever it might be. I'm very curious how they're gonna go about doing that, and I'm willing to go with anything. Will I be disappointed if they do skip Jason or Dick? I'd prefer them skip Jason. I'm sorry, if they skip Jason or Tim. I don't think they'd skip Dick. I think if we're getting the Bat family at all, they'll find a way to incorporate Nightwing, and they may choose to skip whether it be Jason or Tim. I think I would much prefer, obviously, Tim to be around because I think he's been underutilized. But I think it's really interesting that we're getting Damian because it's so different. And I know we still have not gotten a faithful version of Dick that we would have liked. I know we have Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. But I think this is just something that I don't think I expected it. And I think it's just that father-son dynamic with Batman can be really fun, especially with the whole... I mean, that Tomasi run is a lot of fun. It really... I was really late to reading that, but the dynamic between Batman and, little shit Damian was so much fun. It really was. And Damian grew as a character so much. I feel like it was almost like a correction of Jason, where Jason grew years later after he was dead and came back and blah, blah, blah. nobody ever liked Jason, where Damian got that growth over the years of just being Robin. And I think that's why I love Damian as a character now. I never did. The Tomasi run is what made me really appreciate Damian as a character. And I think now, because we've gotten some great animated films with him in it and stuff like that, I'm looking forward to see Bruce and Damian on screen together, but I'm really intrigued of what they're going to do expanding the Bat family in this universe as opposed to what we're getting in the Matt Reeves universe, if we're getting any Bat family there.
Well, if Turner Hayes isn't there, what are we doing?
I don't know who that
is. It's the Gotham Knights. I got you.
Sorry, I'm glad I didn't get that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry.
I see the game you're playing. Jamie, what do you think about this?
Short, sweet, and to the point. This one made me a little bit nervous, but my nerves can be alleviated very quickly by just a couple of things. Number one, blue and gray costume. Number two, even if it is Damian that we're dealing with as Robin now, do not skip the fact that these other Robins existed before him. Dick is Nightwing. Tim is maybe somebody that's, under Bruce's care or watch or something like that. Jason can be dead. F Jason. I don't care what happens to him. But although getting a Red Hood in this universe eventually would be pretty cool. But at any rate, as long as they aren't skipping over for the fact of just going straight to Damian and the other things have been pre-established and maybe can be touched on at a later time with like a round robin series where they talk 3 episodes of Dick Grayson, 3 episodes of Jason, 3 episodes of Tim, something along those lines.
I'd buy that for $1. I'm into that.
Hey, Jamie, what if they give you the blue and gray and an inner monologue?
My brother. So, yeah, I cautiously optimistic is where I'm at with this one. Until I know for sure what they're going to do about the other Robins, the Bat family in general, cautious optimism is all I can give to this one. And it's not, I like Damian. I do. He's truly grown on me. I think you guys nailed it with the whole Damian has very much evolved as a character in the short amount of time that he's been around. And I appreciate that, but he's not the first Robin I want to see on screen. And no, I'm not counting Chris O'Donnell.
Well, the other thing is Grant Morrison's run, it had a really good dynamic between Tim and Damian. So I'm hoping that they use that as, if they say they're using that as an influence, that was a really big factor in when Damian comes. It's Tim actually feels like he's being slighted because Damian is Bruce's actual son and Tim is just the adopted son. It made for some really emotional stuff between the two of them. And Damian's relationship with Dick is obviously a huge part in the comics too. So I think it would be they would miss out if they didn't explore those things, and hopefully they do.
I feel like Gunn has a grasp on that, and I have faith that that's what he's going to do. But until I get confirmation, my excitement for this one is in check.
So this is what I am most excited about because we get a whole other Batman franchise.
Mm-hmm.
We get a concurrent Batman franchise that will be happening alongside the Reeves universe. And if Reeves wants his super grounded, realistic version of Batman, this is allowed to then be the more comic booky version of the character. And that's super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I love Batman. I want more Batman movies. And I've been crying for years, along with you guys and so many other fans, of give us the Bat family in live action. Give us the Bat family on film. And we're going to get some version of it here. But here's the thing about The Brave and the Bold. It was like James Gunn came to my door and he handed me this huge basket of chocolate chip cookies. But in that basket was one oatmeal raisin cookie. And that one oatmeal raisin cookie is called Damian. Because everything about this is what I want, and I am pretty darn confident that it's going to be a much more superhero Batman. But why jump to Damian? Why jump over 3 other Robins and go straight to Damian? That's frustrating. But the mention of the rest of the Bat family gives me hope. Because, like we said, starting to break down the details and the timeline, if he's been Batman for 10 years, I agree. I think that Dick Grayson is already Nightwing in this universe. My hunch is we also get a Batgirl in here, but I just don't know what that means for Jason and Tim. And that's my concern, is I'm like, I don't want you to just wipe them from existence. Nightwing and Batgirl, I think, are safe bets. Obviously, Damian, he's announced. But are they really going to say there were 3 Robins before Damian? I don't know. And if they don't, if they ignore Jason and Tim, I will be disappointed, especially if they ignore Tim.
The problem with the multiple, I mean, if he's on his 4th Robin, he's got to be in his mid-40s at least.
I mean, like you can kind of fudge the timeline, but you're right. Like if you start trying to break it out very specifically, that's possible. But that's why Jason was only a Robin for 3 months and then he was killed.
Well, the New 52, I know it's not the greatest example because most people hate that whole 5-year thing, but the New 52 was supposed to be 5 years, and we already had Damian in that.
Yeah. So there's a way to do it. I just hoping that in their streamlining and in their rush to get to Damian, they don't shortchange the others. And I love your idea, Jamie, of like, hey, then do a prequel series to this on HBO Max where it's about the different Robins. Oh, hell yeah, that sounds amazing. So I'm so excited about this. And if the price I pay to get this version of Batman and a Bat family on screen and a new Batcave and a new Batmobile and all the fun stuff that comes with the new version of Batman, if the price I pay is Damian, I'm willing to pay that price. I just really, really hope that everyone is given their due one way or the other. And they don't all have to be in here in person for the first one, but you can still say they exist and they can come in later.
Well, and I do think, Andy, I think this is going to be super comic booky. I don't think you tell people you're creating a separate side DC Elseworlds title if you're not going to differentiate your characters. And I think the DCU version of Batman is going to be wildly different than the Robert Pattinson version of Batman.
Yes.
Let me also
calling it Brave and the Bold too.
Yeah.
Let me throw the ball back out in the court here real quick, y'all. You know what this means, right? You know what this means. Ra's al Ghul exists in this universe.
This is true.
That's true.
And Talia.
I mean, this is the universe that I think can give us a legit Mr. Freeze. I know everybody wants Matt Reeves to do Mr. Freeze, but I don't need to see a guy with a hood and a fire extinguisher. I want Mr. Freeze.
Well, now I think we don't need to clamor for that. I think it was kind of like we wanted that because we wanted to get some type of comic bookiness brought to that universe, where now I'm kind of content with him sticking with the grounded stuff, and we're getting the best of both worlds now.
Yes, and I completely agree with that. I love that, and I was excited because The Flash was giving me other Batmans because the Reeves one doesn't do it for me. And so for everybody who loves the Reeves one, it's great. That's continuing. You've got that realistic Batman. If that's your jam, cool. More power to you. God bless. But like, I'm ready for a more comic booky Batman, and I hope this is finally going to be it. And I'm ready for a Bat family, and that is going to be part of this. And so that's super exciting. And you're right. Then everybody gets something they want. And for someone who loves both equally, then man, they're in hog heaven.
I'm Scrooge McDuck right now.
Great. So I love it. I'm glad that they're not waiting to bring in the DCU Batman, even though this is, the Batman movie. I wouldn't rule out meeting him a little earlier in a cameo somewhere else. Because this, it's all connected now, right? And I was chatting with Sean Gerber about this, and he brought up a great point, is having the Reeves one going concurrently with this one. Well, Part 2 would come out a year before this with the Reeves verse. So if Reeves is going to do a trilogy, it's already 2/3 of the way done by the time you launch this new Batman. And so they're not going to overlap for long. And I was like, that's actually a really good point as far as timing goes.
Unless it takes Matt Reeves another 4 years to make this.
Well, there was, I feel like somewhere in there was another interesting quote where they said for the Reeves one, didn't they say something like at least one more, something like that, instead of saying a trilogy?
I've literally never heard Matt Reeves or anybody directly involved say the word trilogy.
No, that's assumed by fans. You're 100% correct.
Yeah, and I've assumed it more with the Godfather comparisons, especially now that we know it's called Part 2. The first film is actually even the same, and this is ultra nerdy. It's the same runtime as the Godfather.
Okay.
So like he's done a lot of like weird Godfather parallels. So I wouldn't put it past them to do, just a trilogy kind of.
I mean, yeah, I think we all assume it. It seems like a safe bet.
Does that mean that the third film is really going to suck and we're going to have to wait like 30 years for him to recut it and it's still going to suck when he recuts it? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know.
All right.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
We might be dead by then, so.
So The Brave and the Bold, I'm psyched. I really am. I can't wait for it. And again, like getting the reveals and the suit and the car and all that stuff is so fun.
Blue and gray.
Preach blue and gray.
And listen, and not to even pick on Matt Reeves, but we have another Batman movie where we're going to get new reveals for too. Like, we might not be as amped for those, all of us, but we're still going to get those reveals, and they might surprise us. Like, we're getting two Batman. I will say, the reveals
they might
still coming for the Flash.
That's true. They might surprise us, and again, I hope they do. But like, I have seen some fans who are like, "Oh, does this mean Matt Reeves isn't going to do Robin?" And I'm like, I don't know why everyone thinks he's going to do Robin. Like, did you see the first movie? I don't see how Robin works. Like, I mean, all things are possible, but I don't understand this assumption that a lot of fans have that Reeves was going to do Robin. I was never going to hold my breath for that after seeing the Batman.
Well, like I was hoping for it, but now I don't care.
And on that topic, if we're getting a comic booky version of Batman that does include the Bat family and does include Robin, and that doesn't fit Matt Reeves' plan, don't try to force it. Because I think I
almost feel like don't. Like, I almost feel like it's better off. Like, no, like for the world that Matt Reeves created in the first film, I feel like, don't try to force a Robin into that because we've got this. Do your thing, right? Like, do the villains that make sense for that. Don't try to make a realistic version of Clayface. Do the villains that fit into that world because now we have this other option for the more fantastical.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right. The Brave and the Bold. Back to TV. I think this is the last TV show on the list, and this is Booster Gold. So
Jamie.
Booster Gold. It says it allows DC to stretch into outright comedy. They call Booster a loser from the future who uses future tech to come back and pretend to be a superhero. And Gunn says, basically, Booster Gold is imposter syndrome as a superhero. So it sounds very faithful to what we know of Booster Gold. As you mentioned, when we were recording, it was a couple hours ago at this point, about a Blue Beetle. We will already have a Blue Beetle, assuming he moves into this new universe. And this gives you the opportunity to team them up at a certain point or have Blue Beetle show up in the Booster Gold show or whatever. But this was a wild card that did not shock me because James Gunn seems like someone who would love Booster Gold. Anyway, Jamie, you go first.
They didn't put this in there for me, but for everybody out there that seems to be super excited about it, I'm really glad it's there for you. And I think I'll watch it. I'll give it its fair due. Maybe it'll be the Suicide Squad for me and I'll hate it. Or maybe it'll be Peacemaker and I'll love it. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are like super hyped about this. And for y'all, I hope it works out for the best, whether I like it or not. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay. Joe.
Well, I will say, because I mean, I think most of us cannot figure out Jamie's humor in the least. I'm going to call it now and say, Jamie, you're going to give this a fair shot like you do everything. But I think this is going to be more in the line of Peacemaker for you. I just feel like this character fits even more so that tone than Peacemaker does. Like, because I think
here's the way I can promise you that I will dig this show. Okay, you ready? I need two things: screaming goats, Russell Crowe in a skirt. I'm in.
Oh man,
I'm out.
Oh boy.
You're right, Joe. Jamie's a conundrum.
Yeah,
we love him. We love him, but just when you think you got him nailed down, he runs off again.
Nobody was more surprised than me about that one.
But I respect the hell out of his honesty. I got to give him that, because to not be able to handle the Suicide Squad's humor, but think Thor: Love and Thunder is like top 10 movie of the year, baffles me.
I did not have it in the top 10. I did not.
I'm sorry, top 15 though, right? It was in the middle.
I think it was probably in the
it was like 28.
20s.
Yeah, right. I feel like it was. It was 28.
Okay. But it was in your top half.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I'm ashamed that I know where he ranked it. Don't I have better things to do with my time than to remember how Jamie ranked his movies of the year?
No, because you love using that shit against me at a later date for some reason.
This is true. It's a deposit for the future.
But I just feel like this. I feel like this is the one that if Gunn's not going to direct Superman, I feel like this is his next Peacemaker. Like this should be right up his alley.
Yes. It feels right up his alley. You're right.
And I think he does a really good job of balancing that humor with the heart. Like, who of any of us, I mean, we're all pretty much in unison, Jamie included, of loving Peacemaker. And who saw that coming?
Yeah.
Like, do we really? And I think Booster Gold almost lends to that more. And I'm really, again, this isn't like a show that I'm like, I can't wait for Booster Gold. But I think the variety here is, this is the first one where I could say it's probably going to be a straight up comedy.
Yes. I think they said as much, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
But like, I don't see any of the other, like, I think we are going to get closer to that Marvel tone with the rest of the films. And I don't want to say that in a negative term or even just try to generalize there. But I think they're not going to be that darker tone that we're used to with the DC films for the most part. But I think this one is going to go way more in the humor route than the other ones are. And I think it should. This is the character that should be going that way. But I hope that this is where we get that James Gunn heart included as well. Make me invest in a character that I've never had investment in whatsoever. And Gunn has done that in the past. So that's what makes me interested in this. To get something it's going to be more of a humorous show with something that's going to bring me to this character. That's where I'm at with this.
All right, Eric.
So this is a character that, oddly enough, I share a name with, because my first name is Michael. So Michael Carter. There you go.
Oh, I thought it was Booster.
No,
my Christian name is Booster Carter. Sorry.
So such a weird addition. This is the one I'm like, I'm along for the ride. I'll watch it, but I have no expectations for it, which is, I mean, kind of the way I went into the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and I was surprised, happily surprised with both of those. So yeah, I don't have a lot on this. I haven't read a ton of Booster Gold. I don't know a ton about him other than we share a name. So yeah, I'm along for the ride, but I can't say I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, same. I like Booster Gold just fine. I think he's fun, but he's not my favorite. I don't own any Booster Gold merch, but I'll watch it, and it's one of those, because it's more of a casual thing, like Peacemaker was, where Peacemaker, I was like, I couldn't get excited about it, but I was like, I'll watch it, and I ended up loving it, and I kind of hope the same will happen here, where actually I'm more interested in Booster Gold than I would have been Peacemaker 2 years ago, so that it's got that going for it, and honestly, I just hope that means there's a Booster Gold Blue Beetle team up coming. So yeah, it's like sure, why not? I'm sure it'll be fun, but it certainly wouldn't be the top of my list if I was making the list, but I'm down. So that's it for TV. Now we're back to the movies, and we are expanding the Kryptonian family with Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So this is based on Tom King's Supergirl run. And it features Kara Zor-El. And as Gunn explained, it's a very different type of Supergirl. We see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he's an infant, versus Supergirl, who was raised on a rock chip off of Krypton and watched everyone around her die or be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life. So Gunn called this Supergirl much more hardcore, even though the King series did include Krypto the Superdog. So, the first thing I will mention, it is unclear whether this will be Sasha Calle from The Flash or a new Supergirl. I could see it going either way, because we've already got a Supergirl who we haven't met yet, and maybe she'll be great in the movie and people will love her. But I don't think that she's playing Kara. And so that's where I'm like, I don't know which way they're going to go with this. Maybe she is playing Kara. But I don't think she is, because I feel like there was the brunette Supergirl is a different Supergirl than the blonde Kara that we're used to. A bigger Supergirl fan than I would know. But anyway, it's kind of fun to me that, yes, we'll have a new Superman going, a new Superman movie franchise, but we're going to complement that also with a Supergirl movie franchise. So, Eric, keep going.
I don't think it's ever been fully announced or made clear which version of Supergirl that Sasha Calle is playing. So I don't know where they're going with there. And I'm like you, I don't know if this will be. It's funny that James Gunn would specifically say a very different type of Supergirl, because that could mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But I do think it's very intriguing that we're getting more Kryptonians kind of right off the bat here. They're kind of opening this world up immediately, which automatically tells me this is going to be more comic book, which I like. So yeah, I very curious to see which Supergirl they're using here. If it's going to be Sasha Calle, if it's going to be cast to get a new character, but yeah, I'm intrigued. And the mention of Krypto's interesting too. I don't know if that was mentioned by anyone or if that's just.
It was not. It was mentioned in this. I mean, I'm pulling all this from Variety,
right.
And Variety mentions that he was featured in the comic. It doesn't say anything about the movie, but
yeah. So yeah, I don't know how they'll go, but yeah, this is another one I wouldn't say I'm crazy excited for, but I'm very intrigued.
Yeah. Joe, what about you?
Pretty much the same thing. I'm really intrigued by this one. It's, yeah, I think everyone speculated that it's not Kara in the Flash based on her look.
Right.
I think she shares a look with another version that's like their daughter
from the future or something, right? Yeah. And that's where my confusion comes in, is because yes, like my understanding is she looks like that version of Supergirl, which I don't think I've read anything from. So who knows?
We could. We were talking the other day, coincidentally, about Eric was reading the Death of Superman arc, and if you go down a rabbit hole of looking up Kara Zor-El's history in the comics, good lord, good luck.
Yeah,
okay,
it's a freaking mess.
I mean, people want to talk about like continuity and all this, and that is a character that has left, come back, died, come back as a clone, a shapeshifter, a different character altogether. I mean, there are so many different variations of that character. I mean, for Gunn to say this is a very different version, it's like, well, they're all like completely different from one another.
Yeah.
So, but I will say I'm intrigued to read this storyline by Tom King because, again, like we've talked about Tom King as a Batman writer where we might not be crazy. I don't think I've ever read a non-Batman story that Tom King read that I didn't like. So
his Mr. Miracle book is freaking phenomenal.
It's amazing, and his Vision book might even be better.
I can't get on that boat with you, my friend. I'm sorry.
Okay, I just will say I love both of them. So I'm very intrigued by, and again, this goes to, okay, what about Kara is leading into the greater story as well?
Yeah.
Which makes it exciting. But yeah, I'd feel I don't even want to say disappointed because I haven't seen Sasha Calle on screen yet, but I feel bad that we're not going to get more of her, and who's to say we won't? Maybe we'll have 2 versions of Supergirl in this greater universe. There's another, I mean, if you want to go into the crazy history of Supergirl, there's also, is it Power Girl is the other version?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many. It might be one of the most confusing characters in DC Universe, and there's a lot of confusing ones, but yeah, the next thing I'm probably going to read is that Tom King story, and that is the most I can really say about where I am with this, because I want to see the story that they tell in just describing it is very interesting to me. A darker take on what the character went through before she came to Earth seems really interesting.
Same. I will just say, like, I don't know a version of Supergirl where she's stuck on a rock watching people die for 14 years. That's a Supergirl story I am unfamiliar with. And maybe that was something that Tom King made up for his arc. Because I don't know it. Not that I would know everything, but yeah, same. I'm like, I don't know that, but now I kind of want to go onto DC Universe and see if they've got it.
And it's interesting that they're going 4-quadrant with Superman. Maybe they're going to tell a darker story with Supergirl and have Superman be the one to kind of bring her into that optimistic character that we know, which will be a really interesting way of doing it. Because they did say that Superman's going to appear in this film, correct?
They don't, but it's a safe bet, I think.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I thought it was actually stated somewhere, or maybe it's just assumed by everyone, because why wouldn't he?
Right, exactly. Jamie, what do you think?
I don't quite know what to make of this because I don't have any familiarity with the series. I haven't read it. I actually, just as we were listening to you guys talk, added it to my reading list on DC Universe Infinite. There are elements that are talked about that feel very normal, natural, whatever you want to call it, to Supergirl's origins that I know of from other comics, other movies, animated, live action, whatever. But I don't know. It felt so vague that I don't know what to expect from this one. So it's kind of hard for me to gauge my excitement. I mean, I like Supergirl as a character. So I of course will watch it and we'll see what shakes out. But my pre knowledge of anything going in, just I don't know. I'm I don't really know what to say about this one.
That's okay. I get it. I feel like I'm there with most of your guys' comments is I'm intrigued. I'm down. They want a diverse slate. I think they have a diverse slate, but more female fronted superhero movies is a good thing. And Wonder Woman can't do it on her own. And who is the next one up after Wonder Woman? It's Supergirl. And you have the opportunity to do a Supergirl movie where she gets to know Superman and she's mentored by him and the greater DC universe. And who knows, she could run into Batgirl. The possibilities are endless. Those possibilities excite me, but I don't know the source material. I don't know this particular story. So it's one that it's like, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not like, oh God, I can't wait, a Supergirl movie. I hope that it's Sasha Calle. Of course, like you said, Joe, we haven't seen her in The Flash. Maybe she's horrible in it. I doubt it, but it's just like, yeah, we haven't even met her yet, and I hope that they're not already recasting her. I hope that there's some consistency there, because yeah, I think that would be cool. So I'm down for this, but yeah, it's one that it's sort of wait and see, and because it's sort of at the end of this first slate anyway, this first phase, we've got some time before we learn more about it. So it's sort of a wait and see, but of course I'll be there regardless. And that brings us to the final item on the slate, the final movie, and that is Swamp Thing. We mentioned it earlier. So they said this is an extreme example to show how diverse they want the slate to be, and so Swamp Thing will investigate the dark origins of Swamp Thing through the prism of horror. And so they asked Gunn about how does that work with the rest of the DC universe, and he referenced the initial reactions that he got with Guardians of the Galaxy joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe, of people saying, well, how can Rocket Raccoon hang out with Thor and Captain America? And Gunn says that mash of quality wound up being one of the highlights of Infinity War and Endgame. So they're one-upping that approach with Swamp Thing. He says this is a much more horrific film, but will still have Swamp Thing interact with the other characters. And so someone said they had something to say about Swamp Thing.
I did.
Go for it.
So this is probably the one that I'm most excited about behind The Brave and the Bold. And I mean, of course, Superman, but I loved the DC Universe series Swamp Thing so much.
Yeah.
And so brokenhearted when it ended. It is still the one DC property that my wife, who is not a fan of this stuff in general, I mean, she's very general audience, if I could say that. This is the one DC property that she still asks me about all the time. Are they ever going to do Swamp Thing? Are they ever going to bring that back? Because she loved that show. And yeah, it's just a heartbreaker because we got the announcement, after the first episode, I think?
Yeah, it was so weird.
Prior. Yeah. I don't think we ever got to see the first episode, did we?
I think it was right after they aired the first episode we found out.
I feel like it was like concurrent. Yeah, right as the first episode premiered, they were like, oh, by the way, it's been canceled. Enjoy.
Yeah, and that show, I just thought it was such high quality, and it's another one of those situations, kind of like Finn Wittrock. I feel like some of these actors in that show kind of got the shaft, and Derek Mears, I just feel like that dude, he's so great, and he always gets the shaft, I feel like, because it happened with Friday the 13th. He was one and done with Jason. He was a great Jason. He was Swamp Thing here. He was one and done there. So I kind of hope, even if he's not, I don't expect him to be Alec, but I would love for them to bring back Derek Mears, because put him in the suit. He was so good as Swamp Thing. I think that would be awesome. And I love that we're getting a horror movie in the DCU. That sounds great to me. I really like this character and really looking forward to it and the possibilities it opens up, because Swamp Thing brushes up against so many DC characters. He runs into Poison Ivy, and he runs into the superheroes, and he runs into John Constantine on the regular. So there's a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because you're right. Like, yes, it's a Swamp Thing movie. It's going to be focused on Swamp Thing, but it opens up so many opportunities to set up other things. Like you said, Constantine, Blue Devil, the Creature Commandos could appear in live action, like to really lean into the horror side of the DC universe and start putting the pieces in place for Justice League Dark down the line. Like, that's exciting. Like, I love Swamp Thing in and of himself, but then how it can open up this other corner of the DC universe is really, really cool. Jamie, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm here for a Swamp Thing movie, especially talking about leaning into some horror elements and feeling like, I forget the word that James Gunn used, but basically saying this is the most different from all of them, leaning toward that horror element. I mean, it feels very much tonally like it might be like the DC Universe series, but I have a feeling it's going to be different enough that we're not ever going to confuse the two.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. And here's what I think is, like, I'm with you, Eric. The DC Universe series was amazing, and it still annoys the hell out of me that it got cut short. But like, that was the perfect live action look for Swamp Thing. Perfect. Wouldn't change a thing. So I don't know how you're going to top it, but best of luck, because I'm here for it. But yeah, they nailed it in that show, so they've got to do it again.
I hope they don't go big CGI creature.
I was just thinking the same thing.
I think they will at times. I
think he's such an amazing looking, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like the live practical effect. There you go. I just think he's such an amazing practical effect, especially the way they pulled him off in that show. I don't know that I want to see a big Thanos or Hulk style CGI creature.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I don't care. But yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Didn't we see years ago like a 3D walk around of Swamp Thing when they were developing Justice League Dark?
Oh, I don't.
And it looked pretty damn good. Yeah, I remember it was years ago, but I think the way to go is you go practical until the big action scenes, and then you can let loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, use a blend of both to make it, mirror or because when you're getting those intimate moments with him, I think the practical works much better, so you can get the emotion from the actor and all that kind of stuff, like the show did, and the show achieved that. Yeah, it was a high budget for a show, but I think you could achieve that for a lower budget film.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably what they'll go for if it's a darker horror type movie, which I think you could do for a Swamp Thing movie. And Swamp Thing is such a crazy corner of the DC universe that I have to admit I haven't explored enough of, with the whole. I mean, I've read a little bit of Alan Moore and Len Wein stuff, not much at all, but I dove into the Scott Snyder stuff with Rot World and all that from the New 52. Man, what a vast corner to really get into with the green and all that stuff. A corner that a lot of big DC fans haven't really gotten into, and I think to see how that ties into the greater world. Everyone always talks about the Justice League Dark tie-in, but to me, the green itself, more of the aspects of the Poison Ivy side, intrigues me a lot in how that's going to tie into everything.
Yeah,
where I think the Justice League Dark stuff is obvious. We're going to get that at some point, but I really am curious where the Swamp Thing lore as it is alone, without that kind of stuff, I want to know where that's going.
Yeah. Well, I will say, Robert Reinecke, another shout out, he's got his Swamp Thing podcast, and he had me on it last year, and it was really fun, but we started at the beginning, the very beginning. And if you love Swamp Thing and you love DC and you love Universal Monsters, the first Len Wein arc of Swamp Thing, it's all of those things. And so I really enjoyed reading those. Like I went in to read the one issue that was my assignment for the podcast, and I ended up reading a whole bunch of them because they were so cool. They were very gothic horror. Swamp Thing was very much this tortured, tragic monster, almost like a Quasimodo, where he was lonely and coming to terms with what he had become. And it's really good. I read a lot of the Alan Moore stuff. Some of that gets a little heady for me.
Alan Morty.
It's still good, but there were just some issues where I was like, I felt like I just took a trip. I don't know what happened, but the Len Wein stuff I really enjoyed. So you're right. Like it's not just about setting up Justice League Dark. It's about his world, his mythology, and that's exciting unto itself. So good point.
Yeah, I'd want that as bad as it sounds to say you want the tragic parts. You got to see that tragic transition into him becoming that solitary creature before you get into the Justice League Dark stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really excited about this one too, because I do like Swamp Thing.
Oh, he's great.
And here's what's crazy about Swamp Thing. And I think I said this. I don't remember when I said this, but Swamp Thing has had like more live action appearances than many of the A-list heroes in DC. Because he had 2 movies, 2 live action TV series, a Saturday morning cartoon. Now he's getting another movie. Like, Swampy has been very lucky in media if you look at it the right way. Whereas I was like, we've only had 2 live action Wonder Women. But Swamp Thing has gotten all of these movies and stuff, you know? Same thing with Aquaman. What? We've had 1? No, I mean, unless you count like Smallville, right? We've had 2 live action Aquaman. But yeah, Swamp Thing, man, he's always around.
You're right. I didn't even think about that.
I guess because it can be so detached from the DC universe that you could just sell it as a Swamp Thing show that people don't even think of as being a comic book show.
Yeah, you can play more of the monster angle, like the original Wes Craven movie. Jamie and I reviewed that on this show not all that long ago, and just it was much more about like kind of a creature feature than it was a comic book movie.
Definitely.
I still love that movie.
So that is all we know of the slate for now, but still that is I think that's a lot. That's a lot. 5 movies, 5 TV shows, not to mention what else is wedged in here that we are unaware of for now. And then what's coming later. You know, they mapped out a 10-year plan. This only takes us to 2027, so only through 4 years.
Yeah, and the Elseworld stuff.
Not to mention the Elseworld stuff. So a lot of DC content coming our way. So, one other thing I want to mention before we wrap it up is some additional comments by Peter Safran and James Gunn. Talking about really giving the power back to the writers and not greenlighting movies until they are ready. So that's why I think they only have a release date so far for Superman, because they don't want to rush these only for the release dates. So here's what Gunn says. He says, people become so beholden to release dates to getting movies made no matter what. I'm a writer at heart, and we're not going to be making movies before the screenplay is finished. I've seen it happen again and again, and it's a mess. It's the primary reason for the deterioration in quality of films today versus 20 or 30 years ago. The degradation of the writer in Hollywood has a terrible story. It's gotten much worse since I first moved here 23 years ago. Writers have been completely left out of the loop in favor of actors and directors, and making the writer more prominent and more important in this process is important to us. They make these movies where they don't have third acts written, and then they start writing them during production, you know, making them up as they go along. And then you're watching a bunch of people punch each other, and then there's no flow even to the action. And Safran says it's bad movie fatigue. It says you can't keep telling the same good guy, bad guy, giant thing in the sky, good guy wins story again. You need to tell stories that are more morally complex. You need to tell stories that don't just pretend to be different genres, but actually are different genres. And then he continued saying, it's not the Gunverse. What makes it so fun is to see the stories that are completely different as the individual expression of the writers and the director that are making those projects. And it's not about me superimposing something on top of that. And then they talked a little bit about just the history of DC over the past 10 years has been really messed up. No one was minding the mint. They were just giving away IP like they were party favors. So they were very candid about this. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here in there that okay, I think those are all the important notes. Oh, and then Gunn says this: if somebody is doing something that isn't working, we're going to be honest. One of my primary focuses is being honest with everyone. Somebody brings me an idea that doesn't work, I'm honest about it. We're building right now the foundation for a studio that we want to last, and it just can't last if we haven't built on anything other than rigorous honesty. And then they asked him whether he is going to have to keep swatting down rumors on Twitter, and he said, have to, that's my joy.
That's awesome.
So anyway,
for any of you who don't know, these guys are already aware because I shared it with them. For any of you who are not aware, I have such a newfound love and respect for James Gunn that after about the 10th time I saw him do one of these Twitter swats, I bought the Suicide Squad on iTunes, even though I didn't like the movie, because I felt like that dude deserved a little bit of my respect after that. So, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. So anyway, all that's very promising. I hope all that's true. I hope that David Zaslav supports them in this plan of you don't move forward until the script is ready. You don't pick release dates first and then write the movies. I hope that's true. I hope they stick with it, but it's still encouraging that right now it seems like they have a very clear vision as for how they want to conduct business, how they want to manage the studio, how they want to manage the workflow and the content to make sure that it is done right before they commit money and time to doing it. And so giving more ownness back to the writers is honestly really rare in Hollywood. And I think that that's admirable. And I hope that that is the case.
And since I don't recall us addressing it, although we've been recording for like 4 days now, I don't recall if anybody addressed it, but how exciting is it that he must be that far along on this Superman movie that even though he said this, we've already got a release date for that thing and it's less than 2.5 years away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really telling that is the one that has a release date and he's the one writing it. He's not going to rush himself. So yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking when you were talking.
You got to figure at the very least, and this is my assumption, Andy, you would know more about this than me. At the very least, he has to have his first draft done.
I would think so. Yeah.
Well,
because he even says he's been writing it in secret for at least months now, if not long.
Not to mention the Commandos show is already written.
Yeah.
Well, I think what all those comments scream to me is they're saying, look, we know the track record that this company has. We know that there's been announcements made about shows and movies that are supposedly coming that never see the light of day. And it seems like they're telling us we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Well, they know what a precarious situation they stepped into. Mm-hmm. Like they know they've got to make this work. That's why they were hired. They were hired to clean it up, come up with a plan, come up with a cohesive plan and execute it. And it seems like they are taking the time and ensuring that their teams and whoever they hire to actually make these movies has the time to deliver the best product possible without rushing them. Because you're right. They know the history. They know the mistakes that have been made in the past and they can't make them again in the future.
And there was one other comment, a group of comments that I saw, and I can't remember. There's been so many articles today. I can't remember
right?
which outlet it came from, but they were talking specifically about Henry Cavill. And he was asked about Henry Cavill, and he reiterated that he really likes Henry Cavill. He told people that he was not fired, but he was never hired to play, this new version of Superman.
Yeah.
And he also said, because he didn't pull any punches with the old regime today. He said in this quote, and I wish I could remember which article it was. He said that Henry Cavill had been jerked around for a long time. Mm-hmm. And he felt like it was important to be transparent with him and get out in front of this. And I respect that. I miss Henry Cavill as Superman. He's my favorite Superman, but I respect the way that James Gunn went about that.
Well, and it goes back to his comments about honesty of like, he knew where this was going. He immediately called Henry in and they had an honest conversation of like, hey, here's the plan. And I'm sorry, like it's not you. You're not the Superman that for this story that I want to tell. And they had that honest conversation. And I think that's the best way you can go about it other than jerking him around some more. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Joe, what were you saying?
No, he could have very easily waited till today to drop that bomb.
Yeah.
He got in front of that way early to let people kind of digest that and accept it. And obviously some people have not moved on from that, but to just give us time to digest that. And then, so then today could be focused on moving forward, not the dismissal or that's a terrible way to say it, but just the recasting of Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Holy BatCast breaking news coming through again. Here it is. Let me read it off the teletype here. Henry Cavill is cast as Frankenstein in Creature Commandos.
That's not bad. I'm not mad at it.
There are plenty of roles for him left in the DCU.
Without a doubt. All right. Well, let's give some closing thoughts. Overall thoughts. How you feeling, Jamie?
I'm excited. I have a lot of genuine excitement, And even the things I'm maybe not necessarily as excited about, I certainly have a lot of interest and intrigue to see how it's going to play out, be it something I may not be familiar with, like The Authority, or be it something that I'm not quite sure what the exact approach is going to be, like the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. In fact, I just added that to my reading list as well. So I'm going to check that book out and maybe see if I can find some clues as to what we might see. And of course, anytime they say that a book is, a reference, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a, panel for panel adaptation. So I look forward to what we're going to get. And I know we've got a minute to wait, but you know what? We've got 4 movies to hold us until then. We've got the reset button coming in 120 days ish, 130, whatever. So assuming they don't move the date again, that's me knocking on wood. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on the horizon that I think it makes it exciting to be a DC fan again. And, if you want to be one of those people that doesn't want to be excited about that, that's your right. Do so. But just know that I'm not going to be bitter about it until I have a reason to.
All right. Most anticipated movie and most anticipated show.
Most anticipated show, I think, is more than clear because Lanterns. Movie. Probably Superman.
Nice.
Not that I don't want to see Batman, but I'm so excited for the energy that's going to come out of the Superman movie that's possibly going to set the tone and the pace for the whole thing. I mean, I really want to see Brave and Bold, and I want to know what it's all about, and I want to see that blue and gray costume and all that, but the Superman movie is the one I'm anticipating the most at this point.
All right, cool. Eric, final thoughts.
We've said it so much. I don't think I can say much more than what I have through the episode, but I generally am excited. It feels like, for the first time in a very long time, there's kind of a new day dawning, for us as DC fans, and what that's going to bring us, we're not sure yet, but it looks exciting from here. So I'm happy about that. And I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway is, for the first time in a comic book universe, we have options. So if comic bookie's not your bag, it looks like you're going to get, Elseworld and different versions of these characters. And if that's not your bag, you've got the comic bookie side. And if you like both, awesome. So yeah, I'm super stoked for what we've got ahead.
All right. Same question. Anticipated movie and show.
Movie, without a doubt, is The Brave and the Bold. As a Damian fan, I can't get much more excited about that than I am. And then show's a tough one. But I think my most anticipated show is Paradise Lost.
Oh, nice. All right, Joe, final thoughts.
Well, to piggyback off Eric's dawn comment, they say the night is darkest just before the dawn. I think Cavill being recast, whatever that was a month or two ago, was probably the dark day, but I'm happy to be in the dawn now. Mm-hmm. We're on the other side now. Now we can look ahead, and I also got to ask you, did you expect to get this much today? Because I didn't.
I did not.
No. I thought we were going to get like maybe 3 or 4 projects.
Same.
So that was a really nice surprise that like we got this huge thing to talk about, and we're just in the fun times right now. I still can't get over the fact that we just got all this, and guys, we get a new Flash trailer next weekend.
Yeah.
Like we're really in the great times here. Not to mention a Shazam movie in like a little over a month. So I'm just excited. This is really 4 films this year, and to kick off a new universe coming. Just really excited. I'm not dwelling on the past anymore. I'm looking forward, and I'm happy to do so, and just enjoy the ride.
Awesome. Most anticipated.
I have to go Green Lanterns. I can't. I just love the Green Lantern mythos. I love it too much to not be way too excited for that as a TV show. Film is tough because I'm pretty excited for Batman Brave and the Bold and Superman, but I'm gonna go Superman to edge it out just because it's the most recent one, and if I have to be anticipating one, it's going to be the one that comes out first.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm with you guys. I think this is really exciting. I love how diverse the slate is. There's a little something for everyone, which I think is great. I think there's a lot of different types and flavors of things in the slate, which is awesome. I'm very interested and excited to see how it all ties together. You know, they really made that a point, is this is about telling one large story. And so even though we talked about all these disparate elements and all these disparate movies and TV shows, there's going to be overlap, and that's going to be a lot of fun too. You know, are we going to meet Batman in the Superman movie? Superman, is he going to show up in the Supergirl movie? You know, who's going to show up in the Brave and the Bold? Like, will the Lanterns show up somewhere? You know, like the overlap is going to be a heck of a lot of fun. So there's a lot to be excited about. I really am rooting for the slate. I'm rooting for Gunn and Safran. It seems like a really good plan. It seems like they've got a lot up their sleeves. I can't wait to learn more. But yeah, again, as a DC fan, I just feel like there's a little something for everyone, and that is a great place to be. So I'm really hopeful and excited about the future of this DC content. And for my most anticipated, yeah, I mean, we're all kind of very similar. For movie, it is The Brave and the Bold. It's a whole new Batman universe on film, and that's exciting. And then for a TV show, it's Lanterns. I'm also a big Green Lantern fan. He's one of my favorites, and we've been begging for more Green Lantern since 2011. No matter how you feel about that movie, and to finally get not only Hal but John as well, it's really exciting. So I can't wait for those, but I can't wait to learn more about all these other ones as well. But that's what we know about the DC slate today. And as Joe said, it's going to be a heck of a ride, learning more and more as we continue going. But now who's ready for an hour of emails?
Not bladder.
Yeah, we have a lot of emails, but that's just going to have to wait until next time. This more than filled our evening, but that's okay. We've been waiting for it, and I don't think it disappointed. It certainly delivered. So we'll wrap this baby up. Guys, always a pleasure. It was so fun to chat. Eric, thanks for making the time. Good to have you back. Tell our friends where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me to this one, Andy. This has been really fun. And like you said, something we were absolutely looking forward to. But so far as where you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd at mecarter89. And you can find myself and Joe on our podcast, The Fire Rises, a Batman podcast. That's TFR Batpod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Awesome. Joe, what about you?
Yeah, and I'm glad Eric did that, because I plugged our podcast completely incorrectly last time, and Eric yelled at me. So,
what'd you say? Did you call it?
I think I said Batman: The Fire Rises or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, he said you can find us at Batman: The Fire Rises.
Yeah, I choked big time. That's okay. That's why Eric does the intro and the outro and all the work when we do our podcast, because I'm not good at that stuff.
All right.
But yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as jforn11, and on Facebook as Joe Fornarotto, FORNAROTTO.
Awesome.
And thank you very much also for having me on.
Of course. It was great getting us all together. And Jamie, last but not least, thanks for joining. Thanks for staying up. Where can we find you?
So these guys talking about The Fire Rises, don't they know they make creams for that?
It's burning when I pee.
We didn't even talk about that. We got a Harley Quinn special in 2 weeks.
I know.
So yeah, I'm on the tweets at BatRitter3960. I'm on the show pretty regularly on Facebook. Real Fans groups on Facebook. You can find me there. Yeah.
Cool.
Have I mentioned how excited I am for Lanterns yet?
Yes, I wrote it down.
Okay, just making sure.
Good. Awesome. Well, I already told you guys where to find me. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading or streaming the show. We appreciate that. Please do follow or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Something else you can do to support us that's easy and free is to just rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, you can go to holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, and my hunch is you do, you can send those to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsor over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, do some shopping, but if you're going to make a purchase, use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. But that'll do it. Thanks so much for joining us. On behalf of Jamie, Eric, Joe, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
I got distracted on my outro there because I got a tweet notification from James Gunn.
Oh!
Isn't it so disappointing when it's just a retweet?
Yeah.